Yes, Chairman. County staff has found that there's a need for immediate action involving anticipated litigation, and the Board of Supervisors needs to discuss whether to initiate litigation. This came to the attention after the agenda was posted, and in order to add this, there needs to be a 2/3 vote to add a closed session item under Government Code 54956.9, paragraph 4, subdivision D. There's one case.
Second. I have a first and a second. Rogers first. Ray second. Do I have a motion? Or a vote?
I'm sorry. Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez? Yep. Supervisor Farinelli? Yes. Vote passes.
Okay, so closed session.
Chairman, I'll read the items into closed session before you ask for public comment. Request for closed session, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. County negotiators are Adrian Caleb and Ken Caves. Employee organizations are all units. Public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. The title of the position is County Administrative Officer, also Department of Corrections Director, and the Public Health Director. Anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D2, significant exposure to litigation. There is one case. And the final item is public employee appointment and employment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. The title of the position is County Librarian.
You ready? Where's Eric? Okay, let's bring this meeting back to order. Anything from closed session?
There are no items to report.
Okay. Moving forward, Roger, would you please come up and say the invocation? And then Ray, would you say the flag salute for us, please? Everybody stand, please. Let's bow our heads. Our Heavenly Father, today that as we come and ask your blessing upon the county board of supervisors, Lord, we see the list of people that we need to be doing, and we're thankful for their wonderful service in this community and all of the things that they've accomplished. Lord, I realize that today that as we stand here, there's so much more to be accomplished, there's so many more things to be done. Lord, I thank you for faithful servants that are throughout our entire community. We thank you for those that are here in this meeting today. We ask your blessing not only on the supervisors and the staff, upon all of the county staff, all throughout the north, south, east, and west boundaries of this county. We pray that your continual blessings, that the rains will continue to fall, that there will be abundance not only of resources, but also of your blessings. And so, Lord, I pray the favor of God upon this meeting and upon our county, and we pray that in your name. Amen. Right? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Hawley, thank you for joining us today. Consent calendar. Rhonda? Okay. Are there any questions from the board? Consent calendar? Tom?
Thank you. The item K, I just wanted to thank staff for putting that out for another surveyor for Madera County. Our other one moved to Idaho, so we've been having a little trouble getting our surveys processed in the county, so I appreciate that. And then if there's any questions on item E on the SPCA expansion of the property there for the on the Wani Park, I've got all the answers for you if you need it. So, thank you.
Any other on consent calendar? I would like to pull item M for separate consideration. Okay. Do we go to M now for consideration? Can I have a vote on that, I guess?
We got to get staff.
Well, yeah, that's fine. County staff on M.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Jared Carter with Public Works. Item M is for a contract amendment with Merced Transit to expand our Madera County Connection service to include additional stops as well as more service out to the community college here on Avenue 12. Over the last year and a half or so, we have been working with the college to help try and facilitate more students being able to attend school out there from these areas. And the limitations on the bus service right now have been a factor that has hindered some of that. So we're trying to work with them. The city of Madera is also doing the same thing. They're working on their
Anderson,
service
turn
out
that
there,
thing
so.
off. Jeez, man,
We go outside.
that's $20 for you. You're retired.
You got it? John. Shoot it.
Hey, Jay, would you help him?
Go on. Okay, come on. Let's go. Go ahead.
So again, this is basically to expand that service a little bit to assist in that process of helping to get people to the college more frequently.
And also, doesn't it have one for North Fork too? Around?
Yeah, there are other stops that are involved with that as well. Some of these locations are actually stops that we already have, or that we're going right past those locations, but we're not necessarily stopping. And so when we change up the schedule to be able to stop at more locations to pick up and facilitate this the service, it creates a challenge and when we have to adjust the whole schedule. And so what happened was, in order to do that, it resulted in having to have another driver and another expanded service to accommodate this for the residents of the county. So.
Well, I see on the MCTC report that there's no recommendation for this, and it's kind of interesting to me that we even brought this up. But, under the Resolution 15-04, it says basically that the Madera County Transportation Commission finds that there is no MIT transmit needs for 2015 and 16. So, is this just something that we're doing out of the kindness of our hearts, or?
No, there is an unmet need, and I'll just say this is a significant program for folks who live in Fairmead, folks who live in Lavina, folks who live in parts of the county where there is no commercial. You have to have a vehicle to get to town. Remember that term from years ago, we got to go to town? Many people, the only way they have is through this Madera County Connection. So this is a very useful program to help folks who don't have their own transportation. So is there an unmet need? Absolutely. I don't know what findings by which they would make that, but I can tell you that.
Well, we talked about it, and we were totally 100% behind it. We talked about it at
That's
our
fine, but I'm
meeting.
just saying in the 2014, 2015, it's not there. So if they've talked about it, you would think it would be in the MCTC report, so.
If Supervisor Farinelli, if I remember correctly, at that unmet needs hearing last year, this was an issue that did get brought up. It wasn't, when they do the unmet needs, there's certain specific findings they have to make to consider it a unmet need. But there is things that get brought forward, and there's going to be, the process of that is starting for this year as well. In fact, we just found that out yesterday at MCTC. So this is likely going to be something that comes up at this year's hearing on unmet needs. So what we're trying to do is get ahead of the curve here and try to address some of this stuff, because like Norm mentioned, it is a need. There's no doubt about it. It's been brought to us as something that will help.
Year after year, I've listened to this, and basically last year when Johannes did the presentation on the transit, we just barely met some of the needs or the cost for doing the transportation. That's in with the city and everything. And I know we don't have the city part, but I just want to make sure that the public knows that, this is going to be an add-on, and it will take money to subsidize this. And anyway, it's just my whole point. Okay? Thank you.
Rick?
Max?
You know, when you mentioned schools down there, are we talking UC Merced, a stop there?
No, we're talking about the State Center Community College on
Okay, that one there.
on
But
Avenue
you're
12.
talking about Merced too over here.
This is just
No?
Merced
No, just
Transportation Company.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's just
Merced Transportation Company is the firm that we contract.
Do we have any transportation as far as to UC Merced from Fresno, Madera?
I'm not aware of any.
I don't.
That would be some consideration in the future, because we want to encourage the kids to go to UC Merced, and a lot of them, you know, it's expensive to drive your car back and forth to Merced.
Yes, sir,
And
Chairman.
that would be an idea in the future, perhaps, to consider UC Merced. Okay.
And we'll follow up there. I can tell you, you can take a route to get to Children's Hospital and get on fax, and we'll find out if there's a way to trip link to get that far. We will follow up on that.
There
Thank
you
you.
go. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I would like to, again, I'd like to pull that for separate consideration to vote. And then anybody from the public on consent calendar? Nobody? Bring it back to the board.
I make a motion we approve the consent calendar, removing item M for a separate vote.
Second?
Okay, we have a first and a second. Call for the vote.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay. Can we bring up consent?
I make a motion we approve item M as presented.
We have a first and a second. Tom and Matt. Call for the vote.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay. Any public comment on M? I'm sorry, I should have had that on M before it was pulled.
Okay. Same.
Okay, none? Thank you.
Community College Center. I'm the vice president out there. I just wanted to thank you for your support. This means a lot to our students.
It really does.
Basically, with this extension, or expansion of services, rather, our students are going to be able to get to class by the first class session of 8 o'clock. Previously, I believe the first stop was somewhere around 9:40 or so. So this will really serve our students well, and our students do need this service. I also wanted to make you aware that we at the Madera Community College Center will be supporting this extension. We're going to be doing some direct aid to students, giving out bus passes and things like that, doing some advertising to make sure that this expansion is successful and serves our students. So once again, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
It's very appreciated.
Thank you, Dr. Fitz.
Thank you.
Any other? On in? Thank you. Okay, at this time, public comment?
Public comment. The first 15 minutes of each regular session is set aside for members of the public to comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the board, but not appearing on the agenda. Items presented under public comment may not be discussed or acted upon by the board at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public is invited to comment at the time the item is called for consideration by the board. Any person addressing the board under public comment will be limited to a 3-minute presentation to ensure that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak. Also, all persons addressing the board must state their name and county of residence for the record.
Okay, if anybody has public comment, please line up over here so we can do this in a fashionable and timely manner. Norm?
Thank you, Chairman, and thanks for referring to me as fashionable. I would like to introduce, my name is Norman Allender. I'm your planning director, and I would like to introduce 2 new employees from code enforcement. For some time, we've been trying to go to 5. We lost one of our ones recently, and so we had one we were working on, we were able to get 2. So I don't normally bring down extra help employees, but code enforcement is so high profile. You're going to see these folks out in the field interacting with your constituents, and so I'd like to introduce Leonard Williams and Brandon Medillin. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Supervisors, pleased to meet you. Thank you very much.
Both local kids, both graduates of Madera High, and by the way, both veterans, so good job.
Good idea. Welcome.
Hello, Chairman, Board of Supervisors, Matt Watson, Madera County Fire. I just wanted to speak, I should have got it during consent, but Leonard Hill, Public Health Department, I want to thank the Public Health Department. Madera County Fire currently operates 25 automatic defibrillators in the department. 19 of those which are over 10 years old, the manufacturer no longer making parts. And thanks to Vaughn, part of that money will provide automatic defibrillators and help serve the public in Madera County.
Thank you, Vaughn. Thank you, Matt.
Chair, fellow board members, Charles Hennigan, the Veteran Service Officer for Madera County. I'm here to introduce Bob Protzman, who works for Missing in America Project. Basically, and what he does is he claims remains of veterans that do not have families, so they give them proper burials. He was appointed as our county remains officer in 2013, so he's here today to go ahead and give you a report what he's done during that period of time. Bob?
Thank you, Charles. Morning.
Bob, name and
Bob Protzman, a veteran
address.
remains officer for Madera County.
Yeah, thank you.
I was, as Charles said, I was appointed in 2013. And since my appointment, I have laid to rest 4 veterans. First one was Mr. Carlton, March 28, 2014. And Charles Insminger, he was actually a Fresno County resident, which I assisted in. Recently was a Mr. Giant Valley on October 15th of 2015, and a Mr. Mitchell on October 15th, 2015. And those were the dates that they were taken to Santa Nella to be buried with their peers up there. Currently, I have one gentleman I'm waiting for verification on from the National VA Eligibility Office. Once I get that, then we'll lay him to rest. It's been an honor for me to escort these gentlemen to their final resting place, and I look forward to continuing to serve Madera County in this capacity. Thank you.
Thank
Bob,
you.
fantastic job, and I worked with you in the past, and the stuff that you do is just amazing. So thank you, and thank you to your group.
Real quick, Charles, how is that the license where you get the veteran
put on your driver's license?
How's that going?
Okay, it's going pretty well. I think we've got about 100 that have come through our Madera office. But all you need to do is bring your DD-214 and an ID. At that point in time, your county service officers are the only offices that issue the form to go ahead and give it to you to go to DMV. You can't download it. You can't go to DMV.
So it's got to come through.
It's got to come through us because we are in the business of validating if you're a veteran or not. So we are accredited with the federal VA and the state of California. So we have a special serial number from the county council in Washington, D.C. that we have a special stamp and put our number on that form. So you do have to come through our office to get that veteran's designation on your driver's license.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, Dane Locke. I live in Fresno County. Just recently learned about.
Is the mic on?
Is it?
Not
Yeah.
high enough.
What was your name, sir?
Dane Locke. I live in Fresno County. I just recently learned about the plan to do the off-road park, and speaking with Bob Wilson, he told me that the board gives their full support to it, and I think it's fantastic that we a place back in Madera County that is actually family-friendly. I know there's Miami trails and a couple other places that are actually hard for young kids to ride, and I tell my kids about where all the places used to race and ride, and we can drive by and say, yeah, we used to be able to go there, and now we drive all the way to Hollister Hills to take them or clear up to Carnegie. And it's like, okay, so we drive all that distance, and we spend our money far from here instead of being able to drive such a close distance. And it was really nice to hear that you're all fully behind it, and looks like the plan is taken off as far as the public is concerned, so I just want to thank you for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hawley.
Dane?
Thank you.
Dane?
Donald Holly, I live in the city. I didn't come here as an official. I came here to invite all the board, and it's a very need that we have. Nobody asked me to do this, but as I'm talking about is the Big Brother, Big Sister program. We're in need of mentors. I know a lot of you probably wonder what it does. It's just taking maybe an hour a week during lunchtime to go to a school and get a little lunch buddy and talk with him. We all as councilmen or officials, these kids need someone to talk to. They need someone with intelligence to show them what they can be like. And doing this, right now I have 15 kids at 3 different schools. And I look back at myself and I ask myself, where's all the others that can be helping doing this? If we want to save a kid, it starts with us. So nobody asked me to do this. I'm not advocating, but I am advocating. I think we need to get a hold of Big Brothers, Big Sisters and see what we can do to support this in our county. Fresno's got it outnumbered. Sanger, all these other school districts and counties and cities have really stepped up to the plate, and we're falling behind. So, like I said, I am advocating. I know I wasn't, but I am. So I'm asking you to get with the whole of the Big Sister program in Madera and try to see what you can do to help mentor a kid. Thank you.
Matt?
Donald, anytime you need somebody to go talk to the kids at the grammar schools, I'm available. I've done it before, and I really enjoy it.
Okay. Anybody else? No.
Yeah. Do we have any other sign-ups? Thanks, Don.
Donald will come pick you up and take you.
Okay, I have one thing to talk about on public comments. Last week during the support letter on the VRSI, I wanted to correct the record. I misspoke on the VRSI program with the library. The library has a good program and will remain intact at the library, and the VSR will be on its own program in the county. I want to apologize for any of the confusion that I caused, and that's my statement. Thank you. Okay. Seeing no more public comment? Okay. Regular session. 6A.
Board of Supervisors, Department proclamation recognizing Valley Children's Hospital designation as a Level 2 pediatric trauma center. Whereas more children in the United States die each year from unintentional injury than any other cause, with motor vehicle, pedestrian, and pedal accidents accounting for a majority of those deaths. And whereas pediatric trauma centers utilize a wide variety of pediatric services, staff and physicians, and thus are uniquely equipped to care for injured children. A pediatric trauma team includes pediatric surgeons, pediatric orthopedic surgeons, pediatric neurosurgeons, pediatric plastic surgeons, pediatric radiologists, and the many other physicians, nurses, and healthcare professionals who may be needed to care for pediatric trauma patients. And whereas Valley Children's Hospital has provided pediatric trauma services for children in Central California for many years, and in 2015 experienced 877 inpatient admissions for pediatric trauma. And whereas Valley Children's Hospital's designation as a Level 2 pediatric trauma center will measurably increase the region's capability to meet the medical and social needs of injured children regardless of cause. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Madera, State of California, does hereby recognize the important contribution that Valley Children's Hospital's Level 2 Pediatric Trauma Center will play in both preventing childhood injuries from occurring and treating those injuries when they do occur.
Jim, would you like to come up and...
Hey, Brett, he's got a bow tie too.
I know.
Good man.
Chairman Farinelli and members of the board, my name is Tim Curley, and I'm with Valley Children's Hospital here in Madera. And I'm going to introduce the team that's here today with me, and one of them is going to offer a few words of thanks to all of you. So I'm joined by, Christina Pasma, who is our trauma nurse liaison, and Mary Jo Quintero, who is our pre-hospital liaison nurse. So they're both very critical leaders within our trauma program, not only in Madera, but for instance, Christina also is a coordinator for an initiative called Safe Kids Central California, which does a lot of proactive education in our community around trauma prevention and injury prevention in kids. And then we're also joined by Dr. Douglas Tamura, who is our Associate Medical Director for our trauma program, and I'm going to ask Dr. Tamura just to come up and say a few words.
If I would have studied harder, I could have been a doctor, but instead I'll just do a bow tie.
Yeah. He still has a long way to go, Doc.
Trying to be professorial, you know. Well, on behalf of Valley Children's Hospital, I want to thank the Board of Supervisors of Madera and citizens of Madera to support Valley Children's Hospital for all these years, and particularly on this big endeavor. So what does this mean? Well, Level 2 designation for trauma means that we will take the sickest children from the field directly through EMS for the surrounding counties. We've always taken patients as transfers from outlying hospitals such as Madera Community, but this allows us to take those sickest children so they get the care they need. And time is of essence in treating these children with major trauma, traumatic injuries. And as mentioned by the clerk, we have all the services for children and all the subspecialties to support that. So I think this will be very valuable for the children in our communities. Any questions? Thanks.
Okay. John, would you like to do your presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Board. First, I'd like to apologize for Tim's phone.
Just bring out your wallet, buddy. That's all we care about.
Anybody involved in first response knows that time is of essence. And for years, being involved and having to transport children down to another hospital and then transfer them to Valley Children's wasn't the best way to do it. And so we're so proud that they've got the certification so that they can receive directly from the field. I'm here on behalf of Senator Anthony Cannella to present. We heard that you were going to give a proclamation, and we're here to present a certificate to the hospital for achieving that Level 2 pediatric trauma center status. So, Doctor, on behalf of the nation,
David? David?
Yeah, I just want to say that Valley Children's continues to achieve great prominence throughout the Valley, and this is one of the few trauma centers between Los Angeles and San Francisco. In fact, I think it's the only one. Got it. Only pediatric trauma center between San Francisco and L.A. And that Valley Children's continues to serve this valley so well in so many ways, from Ronald McDonald House to the staff at Valley Children's. And I don't know that when I look at families, I don't know of a family that's not been touched in some way by Valley Children's. My own family, back when my boys were younger, we had an incident where one broke his collarbone during a football game. We didn't know it, and it appeared that he might have a cancer. And went to Valley Children's, and we were treated so well, and everything was just taken care of so well. And this community appreciates what you do at Valley Children's. Thank you so much.
Anybody else? Let's go down and take a picture.
Great.
Okay. 6B.
Board of Supervisors, Department District 3, Year of the Taxpayer Presentation on Property Taxes.
First, I really want to thank Gary, Todd, and Tracy for putting this together. I know it took a lot of your extra time, but I think it's very informative and open to the public to where all this goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Good morning, Chairman Sternelli and all the members of the board. I am Gary Savanda with the Board of County Assessor, and with me.
Thank you, Vanna.
With me is the honorable Tracy Kennedy, the Madera County Treasurer, Tax Collector, and the Honorable Todd Miller, our
Honorable?
well, we'll work with that. The Honorable Controller and Auditor. But we are here today to provide some information on and recognition of one of the primary funding sources for local government, and that being property tax. But before we take on our slide presentation, I think it's appropriate that we recognize the person that actually did all of the work regarding the slideshow and gathering up all the information. In other words, the certified smart person is the lady at the table, and her name is Erica Figueroa.
Very good, Erica.
Property tax is a levy on property that the owner is required to pay. Most of us think of property tax as that little addition on our monthly mortgage amount. But it's much, much more than that, especially to local government. We separate property tax into three divisions, and that would be, number one, the residential part of our property tax.
And as you can see by the slide, we have in Madera County over 43,000 homes. And the little map overlay shows you where they're located. The blue and the darker blue indicate where our housing element is located throughout the county. And that represents a value of $6 billion, that's with a B, $6,300,000,000 plus dollars that is created by residential properties throughout the county. Second classification is our agricultural lands and improvements thereon, a total of 725,000 acres. And again, the overlay map gives us an idea of where the concentration of that ag land exists. And that represents a valuation of over $3,304,000,000. And the third classification is our commercial industrial properties, of which we have 2,862, and we may recognize the one on the right-hand side in the middle of our screen as being the property of none other than our own.
Pizza Man. What a beautiful building.
I'll make sure that I look at that again to make sure the valuation is proper. But our commercial lands, buildings, and the contents therein.
That's not real stone, just so you know.
Provides a valuation of $2,250,000,000 plus. Now, when we add all of these numbers up for the entire county and we look at what our assessed valuation was at the end of 2014, we see that we are valued at $12,033,551,474 for Madera County. And that is, in fact, the highest valuation that we have ever experienced here in Madera County, even higher than the peak of the housing boom back in 2007 before the crash. So it's a testament to the efforts that are being put in by you, our board, and the different cities and unincorporated areas around Madera County. Our next slide will show the top 10 taxpayers throughout the county. And I think we can see that some of the larger industrial and farming organizations, these are annual tax dollars. This is not valuation. This is what they write a check for each year to Madera County in property tax only. So we can see that we have a concentration of valuation and tax dollars in our top 10, and you would see if we created a list of the next 10.
It's interesting, Gary, to see that actually the top 6 is farming, has to do with agriculture, because if you add Madera Glass, which makes wine bottles, and you add
Canandaigua?
Yeah, Canandaigua, which makes the wine for those wine bottles.
Yep.
And I noticed that Georgia Pacific's not in there, but I guess they're not a top payer. But anyway, but you add all that together, and probably the top 20 is basically probably 10, I would say, if I looked at that right the other day, is all ag related.
Very good catch, Mr. Chairman. And you are absolutely correct. The next 10 would include probably 6 or 7 of the next 10 would be ag-based companies. And you even get into some individual and family-owned farming operations. Creekside Farm jumps to mind in the amount they pay. That's the Mahill family, and many such as that. Next, I'll turn it over to Tracy to give you an idea of how we collect this throughout the county service.
Interesting, the top 3 are public utilities. Pacific Gas and Electric, then Gill Ranch and Storage. That's a natural gas storage facility,
Right.
and then Southern California Edison.
Right. And this is all to Tracy Kennedy, Madera County Treasurer Tax Collector. And that's all public record. So we're not telling any tales out of school. It's all public record. And it's posted on our website. So you already heard from Gary Savannah, the assessor, about his primary duty of identifying the correct owner and proper location, and then placing an accurate valuation on the property, whether it's a home in Chowchilla or an entire shopping center in Oakhurst. The assessor sets the values, the auditor controller establishes the tax rates and applies the tax rates to the value and adds any direct charges to the tax roll. Then the tax collector, here's a copy of our tax bill, prints out and sends out all of the bills, which includes, of course, if you can see it, other charges besides taxes. There's ad valorem taxes, any bond issues for school districts, any direct charges, and that all appears on the tax bill as well. Okay, Erica, key the music. Anyway, the treasurer tax collector, we sent out this year approximately 56,000 tax bills, as I spoke to you earlier this year in January. The bills are typically mailed right around October 31st, Halloween trick-or-treat, and are due and payable by December 10th and by April 10th. Those are the delinquency dates. So the 56,000 tax bills that we sent out this year, we collected approximately $82 million through December 10th, through the December 10th collection period. And that was the breakdown of how we collected it. Walk-in traffic, credit cards, over the internet, CORTAC, which is when your taxes are paid through your mortgage company, and of course, mail, which is the biggest volume, is mail, the old-fashioned way. Any property taxes left unpaid by the end of the fiscal year are declared tax defaulted, and the delinquent collection process is instituted. So as you can see, we are very involved with our taxpayers, and we see and hear from them, thousands of them, every year. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
Todd?
Tracy, a question for you. A lot of people think that each dollar comes in the county keep. What percentage do we keep as far as the cities?
Well, funny you should ask us that question. The auditor controller does the annual apportionment, and he has a cute pie chart to show you exactly the allocation of that goes to the county, the schools, special districts. And I'll introduce Todd Miller.
Thank you. So Gary Savannah, the assessor's office, they determine the valuations. Tracy Kennedy in the tax collector's office collect the money. And then it comes over to the auditor controller, and it's our job to properly allocate that money. One thing to keep in mind is that our taxpayers don't only pay property tax to our county, they also pay sales taxes, other fees that come out, and keep in mind they also pay state income tax, federal income tax. So for this being the year of the taxpayer, that is noteworthy, and it impacts all of us. We at the podium here and all of you are, here's the allocation. You'd asked for the allocation. You can see that almost 40%, a little over 40% of the money that we collect from property taxes goes to schools. County government eats up a portion of that. Special districts, that's additional monies that we collect. And we give, of those collections, the total collections, 10% go to, we turn around and allocate to cities. So this is our allocation right here. Does that answer your question, sir? Yes. Good. All of us here at the podium, and really all of you up there, we are answerable to the people on how we handle their money. We have a duty to handle this properly. And all of us, and all of you, I know, take that extremely seriously. In reality, the taxpayers' dollars pay all of our employees, give us all the money to pay our mortgages and to live a decent life in Madera County and elsewhere. So I think it's really important in this year of the taxpayer that we give a special recognition to all of the taxpayers of Madera County. Thank you very much.
I was like, if you can go back 2 slides, and I think in hitting on that point, the next one. So you have this flow chart.
Yes.
I think it's important in this flow chart to connect the schools, cities, county, and special districts to the property owner and taxpayer to show that, we get all this, but at the end of the day, we need to make it for them. So the benefit, once it gets distributed, it then goes back to the taxpayer by way of services, and it just closes that loop. I just saw that, and I thought, what does the taxpayer get out of it? They just send the money in, and it just gets to us. And just like you said, at the end of the day, it needs to make that full turn, so that if this is the year of the taxpayer, that we close that loop and let them know in Madera County we're closing that loop, and their taxpayer dollars are going back to them at some point in some way.
It does. As you can see from the flow chart, the chart after this, the largest part goes to schools, but also it is these taxes and sales taxes that fund our sheriff, probation, jails, all of our public safety departments, as well as library, many departments. So it is the taxpayer. Every dime we get in one fashion or another comes from the taxpayer. We may get it from the state, but the state got it from the taxpayer.
Tom?
Yeah, thank you. A couple of things. First of all, Todd gave a talk on how the money came in, how it was spent, and what was divvied out to Saturday at the Democratic monthly meeting in Oakhurst, and he did a great job, and this just adds to it. And remember the one guy asked, how come PG&E don't pay many taxes? I wish we'd had this to show him, because he said, hey, you guys don't charge them enough taxes. You got to get that straightened out, how they pay the most. So that was great. The second thing is I wish whatever, Rudaball was here, because a couple of years ago when she was telling how much the ag was paying so much more taxes than anybody else, it's twice as much our homes are. So I wish she sees this and stuff. And the third thing is I want a copy of this so I can take it to my town hall meeting. I want one for this Thursday because I have one in YOP so I can talk about this. So I really appreciate it, because this is the kind of information we need to share with the people, and like Todd did Saturday. So thank you guys, and thank you Chief, for bringing that up. That's really nice.
Thank you for that, Tom, because this is what this was meant for.
Exactly.
So we can take it out and at our town hall meetings and show this, and this group here has volunteered to come to our town hall meetings also. So
yeah, Todd has. Well, he actually said if you like it, I'll bring it to your town hall meeting. Well, this is perfect.
The other thing I wanted to bring this up, we're looking at, the homeowners are the biggest, part, but if you add all that together, the top 10 taxpayers is ag, even if you put the electrical in there, because who buys from the electrical and all that. The reason I wanted that is to show that we really need to get diversification. We need more industry. We need that type of industry. We don't commercial. We're doing fine, but we need more industry in Madera County. So I think that's an effort that we started a year ago, trying to bring more industry to Madera County. They do pay a pretty darn good share. It's amazing what Canandaigua and some of those pay. If we can get that type of industry into Madera, it'll really help us diversify. And with the cost of almonds and stuff going down right now, and the price of land going up, we really need to watch what goes on with our farming community as we move forward too. So thank you so much. And anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, are you saying that you're supporting high-speed rail and the maintenance yard?
I'm supporting the maintenance yard, and I voted on that. Yep. I still don't support high-speed rail. So.
But he did vote on the maintenance yard.
I think the case can be made that while we have a high residential base, $6 billion, I think it was, and the industrial base that supports that, the values are directly correlated there. Without that industrial, without that agricultural base, without all those other things going on, you don't have any jobs which don't support the residential base. So it all works in correlation with each other. So I just want to point that out.
Yep, sure does. Thank you so much.
If I could just add one item, we have, what we didn't include in this is the county has 153 special districts currently. About 118 of those are roads. In total, we collect about another $53 million from those, which we turn around and allocate to provide services to all of those special districts, and all that is handled in one way or another pretty much through the county. So that's another item that we have to take seriously and handle those monies properly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to the 7 o'clock, that's number 7, the 10 a.m. hearing. I think 7 o'clock's passed.
Sorry I was late.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Todd.
Norm?
Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division, hearing to consider the request of Sahit Singh Gill to amend the Madera County General Plan, GP 2015-004, pursuant to Section 65358 of the Government Code. The area to be considered consists of 7.35 acres located on the northeast corner of the intersection of Road 30 and Avenue 10.5, adjacent to Highway 99, 10597 Road 30, Madera. The proposal is to amend the area now shown as A, agriculture designation to HC, heavy commercial designation. The rezoning will also be considered to change the zoning from ARE 20, agricultural rural exclusive 20-acre district, to commercial rural general district. The general plan and rezoning will allow a heavy truck, semi-trucks repair facility. A zoning permit will be considered to recognize a single-family dwelling in a commercial district. The property is owned by Norma M. and Sue E. Gould and Jagrig Singh Gill. Size 7.35 acres, APN 047-230-001. A draft mitigated negative declaration has been prepared concerning the proposed project in compliance with provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act and is available together with the initial study for public review at the Madera County Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division.
Thank you, Rhonda. Chairman, members of the board, Norman Allender, Planning Director, here with the Deputy Planning Director, Matt Schriever. But we will turn this over to our senior planner who processed this. But just let me say, relative to the last item, this is about diversification and that symbiotic relationship. This is a really good project to provide some diversity to our economy. Thank you.
Good morning. This is a job, an application from Mr. Gill for a general plan amendment, rezone, and zoning permit. The property is located on the northeast corner of the intersection of Road 30 and Avenue 10.5, adjacent to Highway 99. The applicant is requesting a general plan amendment, rezone to allow a truck repair facility, and a zoning permit to allow a single-family dwelling in a commercial zone district. Mitigation negative declaration 2015-18 was the determination. The specific concerns of the initial study were air quality, hazards and hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, and public services. Conditions have been recommended that will mitigate to less than insignificant. The general plan designates this property agriculture. The zoning map, the zoning designation for this property is ARE 20, agricultural rural exclusive 20-acre district. This is a site plan that shows how they plan to develop the parcel. The existing single-family dwelling will be left on the parcel, and that's why we needed the zoning permit. Once it becomes commercial, is rezoned to commercial, then it requires a zoning permit for the single-family dwelling. The 7.35-acre parcel is really too small for a viable farming operation. The parcels around Avenue 9 are zoned for commercial, and the closest is approximately a mile from the project site. And the project site is located close to State Route 99 and has good access off of Road 30. The analysis provided in this report supports approval of the general plan amendment from agriculture to heavy commercial and rezone from agricultural rural exclusive 20-acre to commercial rural general, the mitigated negative declaration 2015-18, and the mitigation monitoring program as presented. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
We have no maps, I guess, that presentation. Okay. Any questions from the board?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
There we are.
Here we go.
What you're seeing is the site plan for the proposed.
I have a question. Will there be a service station in that site in the
No.
future, present or in the future?
It's not planned at this time.
Okay, because we have a gasoline storage area there nearby.
At this time, it's not part of the proposal.
But let me add to that, Mr. Chairman, is not restricted. The zone district CRG allows a broad amount of commercial uses, so it could be converted to another one by right. But currently, this is what the operational statement says it's going to be. But you are correct. It could convert into another type of commercial in the future.
Yeah, but I mean, would it be, we have a gasoline storage nearby and you have a service station with pumping gasoline, you know what happened in Southern California? Escaping gas.
Yes, I know, I understand, but I don't know that there's necessarily a correlation between the two, right? So any use that would go in there would have to be reviewed by environmental health and all the proper permitting authorities. If you would like me to, and you know I'm quite bold usually, is somebody wasn't watching the store down there in Southern California, and that's what happened. There was a regulatory oversight, you know, it's really what
It
happened.
could happen also here if we're not careful.
Well, they'd have to come here, though, you would know. Come back to the planning, so.
No, if they wanted to convert this to other commercial uses, the zoning allows them a broad amount of commercial uses other than this. But they wouldn't have to go, they would have to go through a regulatory process, through any kind of service station or food would have to be reviewed by environmental health to make sure that Dexter and his shop would make sure that was done correctly.
Yeah, their designs and everything would have to.
Got to go to the building official, the fire marshal.
All of
Yes.
that and make sure that it's done correctly, but it can do it by right once it gets rezoned.
By right doesn't mean there aren't any rules. It just
Yeah,
means
yeah.
that the staff implements the rules, yes.
More questions from the board? Any comments from the public? Seeing none?
As Supervisor Record, I move that we approve.
Second? Nope.
Okay. Supervisor Frazier first, Tom second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Diversification. Diversification, yeah. Okay, 6C.
6C, Board of Supervisors, Department District 5, presentation from CAL FIRE and county staff outlining emergency tree mortality efforts on a state and local level and to review potential next steps.
Good morning, Chairman, Supervisor. Brittany Dyer, the District Chief of Staff for Supervisor Tom Wheeler. We wanted to give you an update today on the tree mortality efforts, and I have MMU Forester here, Len Nelson, to give you an update, kind of a broader view of what the current conditions are and what we can expect in this next year. Before we do that, I did want to give you a brief update on the Tree Mortality Task Force meeting that occurred yesterday in Sacramento in the governor's office. Yesterday's meeting had a bit of a different tone. Up until this point, the meetings have been mainly involved around the managers themselves. Yesterday, they specifically asked, what do the counties need? What have the counties done, and what do the counties need? 6 counties have been identified as the priority areas, and those include all from Tuolumne down to Tulare. So we are in that first group right there. That said, we came with a message loud and clear of what we have done and what we need. What we have done up to date is in the last about 60 days, we've received $325,000 worth of funding for Eastern Madera County. That's come in a few different forms. So we applied for 3 SRA grants. So again, those dollars are coming back locally, and we did receive all 3 of those. That totals $250,000. One of those projects is actually with the North Fork CDC and the Yosemite Sequoia RCND Council, and that would be to establish a log deck. This is really important because while we have a lot of dead and dying trees, the issue is always how do we get them down, and once they're down, what do we do with them? Other counties have different infrastructure in place to help with that. We don't. So for a temporary fix right now, being able to bring them to that mill site and then look at different market opportunities will be imperative. 2 other projects also were funded to help with the tree clearing, so that'll be helpful in Bass Lake, and equipment purchases, I should say. Another big project that occurred recently, in the last 30 days, I'd say, is about 2,000 trees have been fallen along 274 and a variety of other roads. So there are 1,100, 300, and 400, depending on the project in particular. But that's 2,000 trees that have come down, and that was a partnership between the Forest Service, CAL FIRE, and the county. So right now, as you know, there's no additional funds included in this executive order and this proclamation. However, we're really doing what we can to stretch those dollars. Additionally, we also have a project that just started yesterday where we've identified 6 priority roads that not only have numerous dead and dying trees around them, but also can act as a fuel break around communities for this upcoming fire season. So those 6 priority roads have been marked, have started marking yesterday, and as of, I believe, tomorrow, we will actually begin falling trees. So that'll be very helpful as well. So that's where your $325,000 in the last 60 days have come to Eastern Madera County. In addition to that, Supervisor Wheeler has been hosting tree mortality core group meetings as needed. Those have included partners, whether it's the PG&E or the Forest Service or CAL FIRE. It's also included key staff. And so Norm has been really instrumental during this, as well as Brad and Matt, and even Regina with a regulations call from all the lawyers from all the different counties have gotten on to say, hey, what sort of issues are we going to come up with when we begin falling trees? So that's all been very helpful. So while that's great, $325,000, we still have a long way to go. There is CDAA funding, California California Assistance Act, which we have been looking into. There's a 25% match needed on that. So we've been kind of holding off. Some of the counties are in a better position where they're submitting $9 million applications because, pulling $2 or $3 million out of their general fund isn't a big deal. While we're not in that same position currently, yesterday we did get some clarity from the governor's office that potentially there could be in-kind matches that could be included in that. If that is the case, then we assume coming to your board in the next month or so with that application. So lastly, I just want to hit on the items that what we really asked for, and that is we really tried to ask the governor's office and the CAL FIRE leadership for private landowner assistance. To date, the discussion has been about public safety and the roads and the infrastructure that were needed, but really we need to change that focus to be able to get funds at some level to the private landowner. We're not sure exactly what that would look like yet, but Supervisor Wheeler has been pushing FEMA funding from the feds. So we did get a little bit of a green light yesterday. So far, it hadn't been possible for the state to apply that pressure because certain minimal requirements have to be met. For instance, $53 million has to be spent throughout the state before you can go for those funds. Now, between all the counties getting active, it looks like we'll be ready to meet that. So we do anticipate that request going through. We haven't gotten the okay 100%, but the conversations have started. So that's good to hear. Other things that are up and coming, we are anticipating having a resource fair in the next probably 45 days. That resource fair would be for constituents. It'd be in addition to the monthly town hall meetings that we currently have in Eastern Madera County, and to have a broader umbrella of resources available for the constituent, whether they're contractors, whether we have NRCS available. There is some small grants available for folks that have larger land lots. Also, at the Yosemite Gateway Partners meeting in April, we'll be bringing an agenda forward that outlines the tree mortality conditions of all the gateway communities that surround Yosemite National Park. And we continue to provide those outreach opportunities at monthly town hall meetings and most of all, day-to-day, the phone calls. The phone calls continue to come in from the private landowners. Whether it's a lot of times I get people crying on the phone because of the $30,000 to $50,000 estimates that they're receiving for their immediate threat on their homes within the first 200 feet of their homes. Also, we're looking forward to getting some mapping support from CAL FIRE, Caltrans, and the Forest Service. The Roads Department has gone above and beyond to help us with this so far, but we are looking forward to additional assistance. And with that, unless you guys have any questions, I will go ahead and introduce Len Nielsen. Thank you.
Yeah, Rick, I was just going to thank Brittany for, and you too, for putting her on that task force. I can't make them all, so she's been going. She actually went up there yesterday morning early and didn't get home last night almost 8 o'clock because the meeting went a lot longer with the 6 counties with the task force from the governor's office. So Thank you, Brittany.
Yeah, I want to thank her as well.
And thank Lynn, too, for what he's been doing for Madera County. Wow.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Len Nielsen. I'm the unit forester here for MMU. I've been here for just a little bit over a year and have seen a huge amount of change in our forests up on the mountain areas. The mortality continues, unfortunately, even with the rainfall we've currently experienced at over I think it's just over 100% still of normal. However, with the bug population the way it is now at its current level, it will still continue to kill what appears to be healthy green trees. Remember, these trees are still severely stressed because of the 4 years of the drought. So I'm here today to really talk about just an overview of the tree mortality and some specifics that the CAL FIRE is doing to help alleviate it, as Brittany had mentioned. So it's not just the forests up above, it's also some of the lower oaks. But this is a picture of Miami Mountain here in November. As you can see, this is about 90% mortality, which is also the same level of mortality that areas such as Bass Lake are currently experiencing with the ponderosa pines. 90% of the trees up there are either currently brown or they're red, and it's not the fall colors. Those trees are now dead, and the other ones that are left are obviously stressed. So if they survive, it will be surprising. It's also our oak trees down in the lower areas that have been stressed out from the drought. The lack of water, the oak trees section off, and they just basically give up. And even with the current snow that we received in the oaks, we saw a lot of these oaks just kind of peel apart. And that's because these oaks no longer have the cell strength in them to hold together. So it's not just about the conifers up above, it's also the oaks down below. And the tree mortality includes both. Of course, again, I wanted to mention the little buggers that are doing this. The western pine is the number one culprit. It's the one that will attack the tree at all levels of the tree, but it mostly attacks the top of the tree, and then it moves down. And then as it moves down, the red turpentine, the last one on the bottom there, that one attacks what's left of the tree, and it's the final blow. And the Ips is the beetle that comes in pretty much only at the top of the tree. And that you'll see just the top die, and then the tree can survive. But we have a very low population of the Ips, and the majority of the bug population is currently from the western pine beetle. And they're dormant now, pretty much, when it's less than 50 degrees, except for this week when it's going to warm up. But then their life cycle will continue. And because of our warm winters that we've been having, their life cycle has, grown on a, huge amount. This bug is about the size of a grain of rice. You can see the tip of the pin. And just one mating pair can generate over 12 million beetles in a year. What are we doing? Well, like Brittany said, we're mapping the mortality. We're continuing to update the maps. We have a CAL FIRE map viewer that shows the mortality that you can go to our website and look at it and see in your neighborhood what the mortality rate is. That mortality viewer is being updated quarterly through our FRAP, Forest Assessment Resource Protection Program, and we will, like I said, be updating that quarterly. When we take those numbers, those give us the idea of where the trees are dying and the rate of spread. Most of these bug populations right now are at this exponential rate, and we expect that unless we get a cold snap of less than 20 degrees for more than 20 days, we won't see a significant decrease in the bug population. The U.S. Forest Service has flown the area several times and will fly again probably in March or April to do the latest update. So once we see that, we'll see the next update. And we're expecting at least a 30% increase in the percentage of mortality that we currently have, which in some places is 40 to 60%. Let's see. What can we do now? Well, many people have said this is a fire in slow motion. Well, that's how we're beginning to really treat it, is as if it is the emergency, just like a fire. We're going to go out and we're going to do some initial attack. Initial attack with the county is going out and removing these trees alongside the road. What can we do today? Today, with CEQA restrictions and other restrictions with the county and state and private landowners, we can go next to the road and take out those trees. And so our crews, our inmate crews, our engine crews, are currently scheduled to go out and work on these roads. These roads have been identified by the Public Works Roads Department, and 2 members of the Roads Department attended a tree mortality class that I put on how to identify a dead tree. Now, it's really easy to identify a dead brown tree, but these trees are, a lot of these green trees are already dead and they just don't know it.
Exactly.
And so these trees, that's what we did a class on, and we did a 4-hour class on how to identify those trees, because those trees are still hazardous to the road. And if we're going to go in there and take out dead trees, we need to take out those dead trees, all the dead trees that are dead, not just the ones that are brown and dead, but we need to take out the ones that look green. So I showed them methods on how to determine if these trees are dead or not, one of which is what we call a pitch pocket or exit holes in the tree. If a tree has a bunch of little tiny exit holes in it, it's dead. The tree has given up and the bugs have left the building. So if you see these exit holes at the bottom of the tree, that tree is no longer alive. It has, the cambium layer has dried out because the bugs have eaten it and stops its ability to absorb moisture and move moisture up and down the tree. That's a telltale sign. But you can't see that unless you go up to the tree. A lot of these trees no longer have enough pitch or sap because of the drought. Because of that, they don't show the classic sign of the pitch pocket that is like a blister, a sappy blister on the tree. Because of the severe drought, that blister doesn't exist. But that exit hole and that entrance hole, the bug does. And so the Public Works guys can go up, find these exit holes, and identify that, yes, in fact, this tree is dead. Even though the energy, the carbohydrates that are still in the leaf are still there and keep that leaf green. But until it warms up, like we're going to see a warm-up this week, we're going to see what's going to look like night and day, because as it warms up, the moisture in those needles dry out. As they dry out, that needle turns brown. Just like in a fire, when you heat it up, it turns brown. The green, the moisture goes away, evaporates, and the needle turns brown. We're going to see that this week. So as you're driving up and down the highway, you'll notice a significant increase this week in our tree mortality, because those trees are already dead. They just haven't shown it yet. So CAL FIRE has begun to purchase equipment to help alleviate and help the counties and landowners here to get rid of these trees. Some of the equipment that we've purchased or are scheduled to purchase include skid steers, little tractors that can go out and grab chunks of logs and chunks of slash and pile them in places so then we can burn that in place. We've asked the county to develop a county-wide burn permit so then our inmate crews and our engine crews, as they're falling these trees and piling this brush, they can burn it in place. We've asked the Air Board to relax some of the air standards so then we can burn on additional burn days, so then we can have more opportunity to get rid of the slash. The more opportunity and the more slash and debris that we remove before fire season will significantly reduce the potential of fire season in this county. So the more material that we can get a buffer on, especially next to the roadway where we see several fire starts occur in this county, then we can reduce our fire risk locally. We know that we cannot go across the mountainside and remove every tree. That is an impossible task. There are millions of trees that are dead in Madera County, to the tune of about 4 million trees in Madera County. And the number keeps growing every day. So we're getting ready for this. We're actively working on this in CAL FIRE, and we have crews that will be scheduled to go to work tomorrow, or at least, if not tomorrow, the next day, because this week is a little unique. We have a continual professional development this week, so we don't have our engine crews available, but we will have our inmate crews available. So I've got a list from the county today from Brad Phillips over here, who has been coordinating the tree marking for the county. And we'll go out today. I'll go out today after this meeting and verify those trees. And then from there, they'll be slated and scheduled to be removed. When the project is big enough that it will require additional resources from Public Works, such as road closures, we will notify and coordinate with Public Works. So then the public is aware of when a road will be closed. The road closures are intended to be very brief, so then people can still get to where they need to go on time. But it could be as much as 15 minutes. This here is a map of our tree mortality. of our viewer where you can zoom into your area, your neighborhood, and see what the current status is of how many trees per acre that the U.S. Forest Service, through the aerial detection, have counted. This is an aerial reconnaissance survey. It's somebody in a plane that's sitting there and mapping out numbers of trees that are dead. The darker the color, the more trees. The darker the color is 40-plus trees per acre, and it goes down to 3 to 5 trees per acre for the light yellow. Now, we know this has increased. We know that this is across the board pretty much increased about 30% in all these areas across the county. This happens to be Mariposa, but our tree mortality viewer, which I have a website for, will take you right to it. And it's an interactive viewer. You can go there from our CAL FIRE Tree Task Force.org site or our prepareforbeetle.org site, which also has this handy-dandy pamphlet on what to do if you have dead trees. And this is available on our website as well. Included in this is a nice chart of if you have a lot of dead trees and you want to try to sell those trees to recoup some of the costs. There's a nice chart inside as to what you can do depending on what you have. Currently, there's not really a log market for these trees, and so we're looking toward organizations such as NRCS and our California Forest Improvement Program to help landowners, private landowners, in removing some of this debris, which is what it is now. It's no longer lumber. It's now considered debris or waste. This is the current image of the drought as of January 26th of this year. We are still in the heart of the drought, and even though we've had a lot of rain so far this year, we still need more, and we need it to keep coming. Long-term management. Long-term management is this forest, the forest that we see now, the mature forest, the ponderosa pines. They are dead. So they will be replaced with the next generation. The next generation, fortunately, is there underneath the trees. So as I walk through the forest, and I'm surrounded by dead trees, there is still a component of young regeneration underneath. That young regeneration, from about 5 to 20 years old, is still thriving. Interestingly enough, the young trees don't provide good habitat for the bugs, and that's why. But the young trees, the 5-year-old trees, they don't have the ability to absorb moisture, so we have a chunk missing from 0 to 5. But from 5 to 20, those trees still exist.
Lynn, so we're going through these trees. Are we thinning out these small trees also so it's a manageable forest like the 2004 bill from George Bush was signed? Are we managing our forests now instead of just letting them?
Through the California Forest Improvement Program, the landowners they develop a management plan. And with that management plan, it includes thinning.
So many trees per acre, and as we're going through it, we're cleaning up even the small trees to get it. So okay.
Correct, and that money is available now for private landowners to contact their local NRCS representative, which is Jenny Johnson here in Madera County.
Okay.
And they do have money available to help landowners this year.
Good.
And so does the CFIP, which is Guy Anderson here locally.
Okay.
So my next slide was, thinning to reduce, avoid, you need to thin these trees out, especially the ones that will remain, because most of the time these young trees are still overstocked. So the management plan is a very good thing for landowners to engage in, plus it opens up doors for grants. And any other questions for me?
I just really I appreciate Supervisor Wheeler for taking this on in his district, and Brittany and Lynn, thank you so much for the presentation. I think this board knows all the, the facts. That's what happened to our forest over 100 years, I guess, and or more. Because if you look at Yosemite in 1890 and you look at Yosemite in 1990, that'll tell you what happened to our forest. We didn't have any kind of management system. And plus with the environmentalists basically harping on not cleaning up the forest to leave it to natural bases, we got what we have right now. And I've stated this before. My brother, which was a helicopter pilot, used to spray for beetle around Bass Lakes and lakes in the early 70s. Had to stop it. Tom?
Yeah, I just, first I want to thank Lynn and CAL FIRE both for doing all they've been doing, because we've really been up right on top of it. But, you know, it's really weird. I was driving Oakhurst yesterday, and I noticed so many of the trees now are being attacked by the ips now, especially around Teaford. I haven't seen those anymore fading the whole tree like that, like they were doing. But the ips now, I don't know if they can stand this cold a little bit better or what, but.
Usually it's probably a combination of the ips and the western pine, because the first part of the tree to always die is the top with the western pine and the ips.
Yeah, it is, but you can see when the whole tree's dying too, because it usually takes the whole thing, but those aren't. And we'll probably take them down because the top's going to fall on our road too, whether we want to or not, Brad.
Yep, and we're starting to see about the average top of the tree that's falling apart right now is about a 40-foot top.
Yeah,
that's breaking out of these mature trees and falling to the ground.
Brad and our road staff have been doing a really good job also. I mean, he's really stepped up to the plate, and Lynn went out and took a couple of his, Brad's crew and taught them how to mark these trees, so we don't have to hire a forester now, because he'll back it up, and then he'll back up the work that our crew is doing, marking these trees. So they all got to be marked before we can cut them.
So Lynn, another question is it going to take another 100 years to clean up our forest now?
No, unfortunately, as these dead trees die, a fire will self-clean it. Hopefully we can avoid that, and we can manage our forest more appropriately. We do need to engage more fire onto the landscape, and there are lots of bills and you know, a million reasons why we need to do that, such as getting back to the natural diversity by having fire on the ground, and our governor supports that, and we look forward to that at CAL FIRE.
Thank you.
Lastly, I just wanted to share that on behalf of Brad and the Roads Department, we did actually request for a self-loader. A lot of times these trees were falling around the roadways and they need to be picked up and moved. They are looking into that to see if they'd be able to provide that for us, whether it's actually for the purchase of it or for the use or for the rental of that. And then also trying to look for additional training for faller training and certification, because a lot of our crews are actually now out there doing, you know, wasn't in the job description before, it is now, and we're trying to get them certified as well. So. And lastly, we're just crossing our fingers about that FEMA funding, so we need to start doing FEMA readiness. Right. There's a lot of different details associated. If it were to come down, we would have to know the diameters of the tree, where the trees went, a lot of information. So we're trying to get that information up front. We actually learned this from our partners there in Tuolumne County through the Rim Fire. A lot of the work they did, they actually could not get reimbursed through FEMA because they didn't know of all the red tape issues beforehand. So we are talking to them frequently. And then lastly, I just want to thank CAL FIRE, not only on a local level with Len, but also the leadership level. We had folks from Sacramento down on Thursday, and I think the meeting was scheduled to be an hour and ended up being about 4 hours long. So they've been really responsive to our needs.
Thank you. Let's take a 5-minute break and then come back. Thank you. Thank you, Brett, for coming up real fast.
I'm a good soldier.
Thank you, Brett.
It's so hard to. Rick, anything you want to get done we can do right now together?
Let's go. Let's go. Okay. We're going to move the agenda around a little bit, and we're going to move to 6G. Would you please read 6G?
Public Health Department, presentation of Healthy Madera mobilizing for action through planning and partnership steering committee community health assessment report.
Good morning, Vondo Reynoso, Public Health Director, and I'd like to introduce you to a key member of my team, Hilda. This is Hilda Zarate Gonzalez, and she is the Program Manager for our Office of Policy and Planning. And I just want to say thank you to the board for giving us this opportunity to share with you the incredibly historic work that we as a department together with our partners are doing in this county to assess the health of our county members and to work together to improve those health conditions. We are here today to share with you the preliminary results from our community health survey. My arm's not long enough to. It's like.
Well, hey,
right.
Vaughn?
Is that a health condition, Vaughn?
Vaughn,
you know.
why don't you stand up instead of sitting down?
Oh, we've heard that before. We got to come up with a new one. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So before I describe to you the MAP process, this process is our endeavor to be accredited on a national front. And so pure and simple, accreditation for the Public Health Department is getting that gold standard, is getting that 5-star rating so that we can assure the public as well as our funders that infrastructurally and process-wise, our health department can and essentially can promote the health of our community by preventing disease, and through partnership really can make it happen that all residents in our county, regardless of where they live, can have the best opportunity possible to lead healthy lives. So about 2 years ago, we invited key partners to come to the table with us, and we are known as the Healthy Madera MAP Steering Committee, of which some are in the audience, so thank you for being here. So on the committee is Rick, as well as Cece Massetti representing the MCOE, Shanera representing First Five, Dennis representing Behavioral Health, Mr. Hawley representing Madera City Council, Karen and Peter representing Madera Community Hospital, Kelly representing DSS, Leoncio Vasquez representing Centro Binacional, Maddie representing CAPMC, Nicole representing Camarena Health, Norm representing our infamous planning department. Norm. Oh, excellent. I'm sorry. Excellent. I meant to say excellent. Rick Dupree from our probation department and Tim Curley from Children's. And it's really energizing for us as staff to see the commitment and the excitement of these partners. They're still here after a very lengthy morning. They're still here. So to that, I just want to say that it's been a long journey, and they're still here with us, as committed as ever to work in partnership with us.
I thought they were just here engaged in our meeting because they wanted to see good governance at work.
Oh, yes, that too, that too. So in short, the MAP process is a new way of coming together as a community. The key is partnership. The end goal is a healthier Madera County. And instead of chasing down new dollars, of which that's really good, but it's really looking at what do the partners bring to the table, and how can we leverage our resources and through data, through partnerships, through systems change, how can we bring about sustainable change to affect our county? It's systems thinking, it's dialoguing based on shared vision, having really robust conversations around data so that we can be evidence-based, and is thinking for the future, for future generations, building healthy communities, and really celebrating our successes. And that success is a healthier, moving the needle on a healthier county. So I will hand it over to Hilda, who will walk us through our process these last 6 months.
Thank you, Vaughn. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, supervisors. Well, as Vaughn said, I'm Hilda Zarate Gonzalez. I'm the program manager of the Office of Policy and Planning. I'm also the Public Health Accreditation and Quality Improvement Coordinator and the Public Information Officer for the department. So since November of 2014, this MAP steering committee has been meeting to conduct different assessments and to utilize the MAP methodology to bring important data-driven decision-makings to the Madera County. So the first thing that we wanted to do was to conduct a community health assessment. And in order to do that, we actually adopted a survey, and we piloted this survey for 6 months. So it was just not a survey that we got from any obscure website. We actually utilized a vetted tool that was adapted to the needs of the Madera County, and we actually did several focus groups, 6 focus groups, not only in the city of Madera, but Chowchilla and the community of Parksdale. So after these very powerful 14 organizations that are part of the steering committee approved this survey and the pilots, we went ahead and implemented the survey. So we were challenged by several members of our committee to go beyond, above and beyond the original goal of the community health survey. So we had 4 weeks to implement this survey, and our original goal was to achieve around 500 surveys. So we are very happy to report to you that in total we received 2,189 surveys of Madera County residents. We disseminated this survey in 2 formats. One was an electronic survey to reach those who have a computer at home or have access to the internet. So we put it in that platform. But also we engaged in more than 20 events to do paper-based surveys. So these 20 places that staff under the sun and very hardworking implemented the survey and had very invaluable conversations one-on-one with the residents of this county. We utilize the resources of the public health clinic, behavioral health clinics, Madera County, Madera Hospital ER, then rural health centers in Madera and Chowchilla, Sierra Vista Elementary, a town hall meeting with Supervisor Farinelli, the farmers market, several food distribution centers, senior centers, First 5, Madera, Oakhurst, and Chowchilla, the Oakhurst Senior Center, Oakhurst Health Fair, the Chowchilla Clinic, Chowchilla Head Start, and Fairmead Community and Friends, along with probation. So the first part of describing to you this analysis that we have partnered with the University of California, Merced, Professor of Epidemiology, Sidra Goldman-Meller. She is utilizing summary statistics to provide to you, in the first part, the demographics of the people that responded to the survey. So we form regional distribution of respondents, and we can look at the pie chart, and we see that in Eastern Madera, we have about 6% of the respondents were part of Eastern Madera zip codes. The Madera Ranchos and Farba, about 3%. The Chowchilla community, 12%. 93637 and 93638 in City of Madera, they got the chunk of the surveys that we implemented. So the majority of respondents were from those 2 zip codes. This is not very surprising findings that the gender of the majority of the survey respondents were female. We tend to be more informative, and we like to talk to people that survey. and 21% were males. It's true.
I'm fine on
Do you mean they voice their opinion more than men?
There's exceptions. The race and ethnicity makeup of the respondents were largely Hispanic Latino, about 69%, 22% were Caucasian white. We have 3% of the respondents were African American. There were Native American and Asian respondents in 2% and 1% of percentages in the survey. So this is an important graphic because this distills the level of education that the respondents of the survey provided to us. If you imagine a curve starting from the left to the right, the majority of the respondents basically fall in the categories of less than high school, GED, and some college. The bottom part is when you start asking, and they provide that they have a college degree, a grad degree, or professional degree, another. So the majority of the respondents were below the college level education. Again, if you imagine a curve in the household income of these respondents, you see a tremendous skew to the left, which is below $49,000 in annual household income. So this is the profile of the income levels of the respondents of this survey. The primary language spoken, 57% reply that their primary language is English. 41% were Spanish-speaking, and 2% of the survey respondents declare another language other than English and Spanish, which was tremendously interesting. Employment status, we have a 50-50 degree of, it's pretty across the board, 50% were employed and 50% of the respondents were unemployed. We wanted to make sure that the veterans had their say in the survey. We really did a lot of outreach and reached out to several organizations and partners in our steering committee to help us out reach these population. We have a keen interest in serving their needs. So about 4% of the respondents were veterans. The health perceptions, this is when we get to the meat of our survey. We wanted to know what the health status and the community perceptions that the respondents had. These will make up a sample of what, hopefully, we can think about the entire health and perceptions of the county of Madera. So we asked them what they consider their general health was. The majority of the respondents fell in the poor, fair, and good category. Only 19% replied very good, 5% excellent, and 2% didn't know what their general health. It happens that this indicator is one of the best predictors to health in a community. So when we see that 37% are declaring their health as good, fair, 24%, and poor health, 13%, we need to think beyond what these numbers are showing us and what these respondents and our constituents are talking about. We also asked them about having health insurance. Fortunately, 78% of the survey respondents declare having health insurance. However, we still have 19% of uninsured rate within this population, and 3% of them didn't know.
On that slide before, there was more, the one right before, or two before, there was actually more that said that they thought that they were very good than thought were poor. So, I mean, if you were going to lump three together in a statistical analysis, you'd lump those three, not starting with the poor.
If you aggregate the curve, yes, you're correct in your observation. If you aggregate the curve, the good to the more negative health status is the one that's condensing most of the responses. So about 24% of the population is declaring very good and excellent health, compared to the other 66%.
I'm just a glass half full kind of guy, I guess. So there's just a pie chart. I was reading a bar graph. It was completely different than my pizza pie chart.
I have a 7-year-old that's doing pizza math. I support.
Okay.
So, yes, health insurance. We also asked, we wanted to know how effective our organizations were in creating this environment of collaboration with our community. So we asked them to rate how well our governing agencies are working together to solve community problems. So 39% of them said okay. Of course, we want to see more than okay. We are high achievers. We want to see more good and excellent. So we need to work very hard in making our efforts a lot more visible and to make significant impacts in the community and their perceptions. This is when the rubber meets the road for our survey. We asked the community to prioritize the 3 biggest health problems in your community. So we're talking about them realizing what they see and what they're experiencing in their communities. So we see that the top concerns were alcoholism and drug abuse at 12%, breathing problems at 11%, obesity and diabetes also tied in 11%. We see teen pregnancy, mental health issues, youth violence, and cancer as also somewhat high in the ranks of the survey respondents as they identify the biggest health problems in Madera County. We also asked them about the 3 behaviors that most affect health in your community. So again, we saw that the respondents were telling us that alcohol abuse, drug abuse, poor eating habits, lack of exercise, along with the driving while drunk or on drugs, were high in their priority list. So these are behaviors that directly affect the health of our community, and these are their concerns. Now, there's no public health and there's no community development, there's no social services that do not look at social and economic problems in our community. If we want to be effective, we need to know and we need to also be very efficient and effective and engaging communities and departments that are directly affecting these variables. So this was the most important slide that I can show you. 22% of the respondents declare that not enough local jobs is one of the biggest social and economic problems in Madera County, and tied were homelessness, poverty, and gangs at 10%. After that, not enough interesting activities, which talks more about recreation, high school dropouts, and no health insurance were other concerns that ranked pretty high in the identification of issues. The 3 biggest obstacles to having a healthy environment in your community, 20% of the respondents said that air pollution was one of the biggest obstacles to having a health environment. Too many hot days. For these, we have to correlate that we utilize the summer months, the summer, July and August, to ask these questions. So we were in the 104 degrees at that season. Cigarette smoke, poor housing conditions, and not enough safe places to be physically active were also concerns. That one and pesticide use are tied with 7% of the concerns. Lastly, in the perceptions and the health status questions that we asked, where the 3 things that make it hard to get health care in Madera County. 15% of the survey respondents said that the wait time to see the doctor is too long. Yes, tied in 10%, that Cover California was too hard to get, and not having health insurance were the top 3 issues that make it hard to get health care in our community. The 4th one was high copays and deductibles as well. That's it for me. Thank you.
So before I go to the next steps, would any members of the MAP Steering Committee want to say anything? Great. Tim, come on up.
Good morning again. Tim Curley of Valley Children's Healthcare, and a couple of comments. One, just want to thank Vaughn and Hilda and the rest of the County Public Health Department staff for doing this very critical work and for the support of the board, both here and then having a physical presence through Chairman Farinelli at the in the process, and just recognizing the critical role that this plays in help setting an agenda for this county around public health issues and bringing together all the different stakeholders to leverage our resources and expertise where we don't have a lot of resources, at least, and so this is a real opportunity. And then helping to make the connection between a strong public health program and a thriving county. Kids who are able to go to school and are able to learn, and people who are able to go to their jobs and be productive and stay out of trouble, and the direct connection between a strong public health program and a healthy population and a productive community. So I want to recognize the Public Health Department and the county for making this commitment and supporting it.
Kelly Woodard, your Social Services Director. I just want to say that the leadership shown by the Health Department, I think, will position Madera County as it relates to future funding and future opportunities. And so, you know, as the partner agency, I'm very pleased that we've been working so hard to put a lot of this together. So, thank you.
And I just wanted to point out the challenge of getting all those higher amounts came from Chairman Farinelli. He was the one who had the idea of, that's not meet the minimum N, right? The sample group, the N equals, right? He wanted N to equal a whole lot higher than what the statistical averages said, and it put us in a much better situation. So definitely thanks to him. And the bottom line is anytime Vaughn calls you to be on a committee, you should do it, because she is first class. I tell you, I've been on with her and Maddie and Donna. We've been doing some stuff for a few years in training, but this committee was all department heads, executive leadership from other organizations. You didn't see a lot of surrogates in the room. You saw the department heads in the room. I just want to say, anytime you can be on a committee with Vaughn, I almost always, well, I have to say yes, because we're Oscar and Felix, but, you know, the two of us, but she is so awesome. Thank you.
Donald Holly again from the City of Madeira. Glad to be a partnership in this. I know our logo wasn't on there, but that's okay. We'll get it on there. You know, City plays a good part in this because we are mostly a part of the city, and a lot of this stuff is happening inside where we all sit. And being part of, like Norm said, Vaughn does make you know, she may not have long arms, but she have us, and that stretches a big old white. And watching her leadership really have made me become a better person and learning what goes on as far as our health department. So give her a bonus next, you know, thanks.
City of Fresno did that. We probably did there.
Good morning. Shanira Black, your Executive Director for First 5 Madera County. I just simply want to reiterate what my colleagues mentioned and state how important it is for the work that Vaughn has done towards this, the work that everybody has done towards this. As we are a funding agency, it's very awesome when we know what all of us agree to as the needs in our community so that we can invest our dollars and all pull in the same direction. So it's really helpful when we have something like this happen in our community so that we can maximize the resources. Thank you very much, and thank you, Vaughn.
I want to say a few words on them because I was on the committee. I just want to thank all the people that are on the committee. This was a year and a half working every single month to do this, and I really want to thank the supervisors for stepping up and getting those numbers that you saw on the chart. Each one of the districts stepped up in their areas to try to get more people involved in that survey. The more you have, the better the survey, correct? And I'm really proud of the committee. And I tell you, this is a part of the future of Madera County. If we understand our issues and we understand our problems, we can move forward faster and more efficient, and maybe save the taxpayer some money too at the same time. And it's just like with the presentation we had this morning about who pays for the taxes. You saw the 50% out of jobs, and it just goes back to we need industry in this town. So anyway.
Well, thank you. And I opened the presentation by saying that this is a very historical, momentous effort, and it is. It's not public health that's leading the work. We convene a group of very committed leaders across the county, across the city, and across the CBOs with support from your board. So I think that we will make traction in improving the health of our community. And the best thing is that we know that without additional resources, we can't make a lot of our dreams come true. So the work that we're doing in gathering the data, in coming together and creating an improvement plan, and then later a strategic plan will all position us to get more monies from the feds, from the state, as well as private funders. So with that, we are in collaboration with UC Merced in analyzing the data, stratifying it by employment versus unemployed, stratified by geographic areas. We are going to slice and dice the information so that any of our partnering agencies can use the data to get more resources. And so with that in mind, I am also asking each of the supervisors to be our co-host in a town hall where we can show this data as well as other data sources to your constituents and really work with your constituents to say, okay, this is what the numbers tell us. How can we improve our community? What are your ideas? And leverage our resources as agencies to make that happen.
Thank you. Any other?
Yeah, let me Bob, when I've seen it, I've been on the board for 11 years, and we didn't have the cooperation between departments like we're having now. It could be the individual department heads that are doing this, but it's amazing, you see it developing. It just started happening 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. And if you guys get along so good, there's no envy, jealousy, or anything like that. You guys are working together like a team. And when you work as a team, you get results. And you can see that happening now. So.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun together. This is heavy-duty work, and we always have a lot of fun together.
But, my phone wasn't on, but my mic wasn't on. But anyway, what I was saying is it's the last 4 or 5 years, I see a difference now. All departments, most of the departments are working together as a team. And when you have a team, you have good results. And it could be it's department heads and also the employees in this department that are working for the good of the community and the good of Madera County. That's great. Congratulate you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
So shall I come knocking on your doorsteps to?
Well, you already have me down on my town hall.
Okay, great.
So.
Great.
You already have. We're already scheduled for the next town. So. Okay. Well, thank you.
Right, thank you.
Okay, we're going to jump around because of the long presentation that we had earlier, and we'd like to go to 6E, please.
County Administration Department, presentation from 5 Creative Group highlighting the design process and concept for a new Madera County monument sign, and discussion and direction to staff to continue working with 5 Creative Group to develop construction documents and solicit construction proposals for board consideration at a future meeting.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Eric Fleming, County Administrator. I'll do a brief little bit of background here while Ron Nickel is getting his presentation ready. As your board will recall, back in mid-2015, you gave staff direction to go out and develop a design committee and get a designer on board to start looking at some welcome to Madera signage or monuments. And there was a one-time legal settlement that in the amount of $182,039 that was set aside for this project. After a bit of quick research, a local design firm, 5 Creative Group, headed by Ron Nickel, came highly recommended based on his signage experience in the area. And the local committee came together upon your board recommending individuals from each of your districts. Some didn't work out, some did. We ended up with Ray Krause, Rhonda Salisbury, Laura Young, Norm Allender, Rhonda Cargill also joined us. And we had a series of meetings and always kept in mind that your board wanted this to come together and represent the area and be made of high-quality materials. All of our committee members are here today, and Ron is here today, and he's going to give you a presentation on what we came up with and how we got there.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here today. Basically, we're just going to share a little bit of where we are currently at the end, but we did want to share as a process, just briefly. This is a bit of condensed. We've had a number of meetings over the last 6 months or so, which included some research development, on-site location visits, just actually getting into the county and making some visits in places like Hensley, O'Neill's, places that maybe we were initially not really that familiar with. So the biggest part for us to get started has always been the research and development. So this right here gives us a little bit of a idea. Well, this just shows you our stages, our process stages. And we actually work our way up from the bottom. We start with research and design. And we like to come at these with a little bit of a beginner's mindset in the sense of we all see these types of signage welcoming people to counties and cities. As a group, we all agree that it would be nice to get a fresh approach, kind of take that framework of what we see a lot of and put that aside and really focus on things that are attributes of the county and specific to our area. So that's the first part of it. Second is our site evaluation. There are a couple of issues here, or topics, I guess, not really issues. One, there is a established site, I think proposed, but also we were thinking in terms of future reference of future sites, which may be along the 99 corridor, et cetera. So other ways that, mass population is either coming through the city, on the way to Yosemite, those kind of things did come up. So that was site evaluation. Nextly, we did a materials study. We looked, and our biggest focus here was trying to really look at natural elements and materials that are natural to the area. And then lastly, we do design specifications and construction. We are not a signed construction firm or a construction firm, but what we do, our part in that, which is our last stage, is we put together the design, and then we work through the drawings, sign drawings that would go to engineers, construction firms, sign fabricators, and we, at that point, we do work with them closely, since those are not necessarily our expertise, areas of expertise. Things like engineering and the way this thing fits into these locations is obviously critical, and so we rely on those third parties for that expertise. So first thing we did is we tried to dig in a little bit into Madera County, look at it from a historical sense, the story, if you will, of how it was established, things that are natural to the area. And one of the things we wanted to do was to bring some insight out of all that. It was great for us to work with the group. All had insights to the area. They live here. It was great to get sort of a real organic, if you will, bit of information from them as well. So that all went into this. But these are just some of the key points, just briefly. We wanted it to connect to historical relevance. We wanted the use of natural materials to be a key component. We wanted it overall to feel authentic and be authentic. We wanted to avoid a commercial look or a retail type of look and feel to it, so non-commercial. We felt it would be important for it to have a monumental type sense to it, to have this kind of big stature, sense of strength, and feel to it. And then lastly, we did talk about some practical things, which this always comes into play with these types of projects, is we're aiming at zero maintenance. A lot of times, and this goes back to sort of use of natural materials, a lot of these signs that you will see, if they use sort of what we would consider unnatural materials, you get plastics, things like that, and then they try to landscape necessarily or do things that go beyond that incur cost to your county to maintain these signs, make them, keep them looking good. We wanted to really hone in on that and make that a key component. It was important to everybody in the group when we first met. That was one of the key topics of discussion. So our first thing we did is look at this is the proposed site. This is right on 41, right as you cross the river. There is a portion of this hilltop here that is sort of allocated to county, as our understanding. Some portions of it are not. So if you kind of look, you can kind of see that white line drawn on the aerial. That shows that kind of our idea of where the sign direction would face. We went out and did surveys. We did a lot of drive-bys, and we did some workings on what sort of letter height, maybe just to establish some sense of size. We're working right now with, and I guess I should go back a little bit and say, we're in the prototyping stage, just to kind of get us up to date. So a lot of this stuff is design prototyping that we're working through. So right now we do sit at an 8-foot tall letter, for instance, and which you can see from about easily from 2 football fields. So what we wanted to is get a sense of, like, when you're coming across the bridge there, northbound, that you get a sense of that monument feel to the piece. And that's a closer view of when you're sort of coming right on it. If you can kind of see on that mountain, our dividing point is kind of where those green bushes end. You can kind of see, kind of runs up the center of the hill, and then it darts up to the top. If you kind of look where those green bushes are, that's really roughly where our area of availability is. So one of the things we will be doing is once we get the design set in stone, if you will, we then go out and work on angle. As of right now, we don't have any site surveys, so angle, things like that have not really been, we haven't really dug into that. And we're not sure, I don't know exactly what's underneath that surface, so there could be some issues there. But the concept right now is that it sits at an angle in that general area, facing angled enough to where northbound is the prominent view, but we're going to want to angle it, I guess, back up just enough to where if you're coming southbound, you still will be able to see the sign. Next thing, we dug into the materials. With our research, we started pulling up different things. A couple of the things we wrote, obviously the history of Madera includes wood. There was this whole thing on the forest topic earlier. Wood was obviously an element. Granite is another element that is prominent because of the mines here. And then we looked at steel construction for letters and any other sort of fabrication. On the bottom there, it does show a little bit of one of the concepts that we're working with is letting the steel take its natural course, which would turn it from a steel color to a more reddish color over time. Again, this kind of goes to the maintenance issue. We wanted to just let it ride, if you will, so that it's not something we have to maintain, paint again and again to try to keep it looking good. And this shows a little bit of that. Where we start with a steel color, it's going to make its way eventually to a more rust color. And these would be dimensional. We're thinking in terms of dimensional letters. So we looked into the mining of the granite. And what we were looking at as a design, from the design direction, was just a natural landscape of the granite and how they actually mine it. And if you kind of look at some of these images, you'll see you'll be able to piece together kind of what we came up with in the end and where we were inspired to do that. So these are just some of those photos. One of the things is, how it's embedded into the mountain side, the way it's they cut through that. These are elements that we looked at. We also looked at the logging industry, how it was brought down to the valley, Madera. We looked really closely at the flume systems that were built, which are really impressive. And so we looked at those materials, the structure, the design of those. So that brings us to our design phase, and I'm really compressing this quite a bit. We had a number of designs that we worked through and prototypes we brought to a number of the meetings. We all brought together our comments from the group and went back and reassessed how those matched up to our first goals. And so this is the design prototype we're working with currently. So what you have here is a couple things on the top. We have 3 elements basically is what is going to be the structure of the sign. The backdrop will be the granite, which we want it to be in the sense of a natural cut pieces. We don't want them to be polished, finished necessarily. Again, we want them to look natural. Somewhat embedded into that mountainside if we can. The lettering themselves would be the steel, and again that would take on a natural look. And then below, we're going to build a structure that would mimic the design of the flume. So from the front, we realize you may not recognize that because typical of a flume, you need to see that V shape, and you need to see water flowing through it. We get that, but one of the things we wanted to do was just a touch of that element without having to literally build a flume, that's functioning. The other thing this does do is it brings a little bit of the railway system look to it. It brings a wood element in. There are a couple of issues with that. There's longevity, wear and tear on the wood. Obviously, treated wood is one way to go, but you also have to consider the scale of this. If you look to the right there, there's a 6-foot person standing there. So you can see how big this initial design is. It's roughly about 90 feet in width. That may change because when we get down to engineering, cost, etc., there may be some value engineering that has to happen here. But ideally, this is sort of the monumental type of look and feel that we were shooting for. You can see the cutaway at the bottom. We're actually going to want to embed this somewhat into that hillside, which, again, not knowing exactly what's underneath there and what we're going to encounter, that design could change a little bit, could sit a little further out, etc. But we did want it the sense of, if you go back to those quarry photos, the sense of how that granite just is right into the mountainside. It's a more natural look, and so that's what we're trying to emulate, if you will, to keep that feel. The established 1893 is it would be it would be a steel structure that would sit on the side there. Where it's a little bit of a detail. The readability on that's obviously a lot closer, but we were less worried about seeing that from 2 football fields and then it being kind of just a little bit of an aesthetic touch. And again, one of the main goals when we started out was we need to keep this simple. A lot of these signs that you do see out there, everybody tries to throw everything onto it that they can to try to describe or show their city or county. So we had to kind of keep resisting that temptation to add to the sign. We want to keep it simple. You have to remember people are driving by rapidly. And we just want an initial impact, and that's what you need to get. So this shows a little bit of that dimension of the sign. These are the 3 main pieces. You have the granite, steel, and the truss system that would either be wood, or we may entertain the thought of maybe that being a metal structure just for the sake of maintenance and longevity. But I'm not necessarily a proponent of that idea because I really want the wood to be wood. But there is an argument that we may run into some issues with over time. One of the things we wanted to do was keep the materials natural and use authentic materials. So you could argue that, who cares? The thing's a football field away. No one's going to go up to the sign and actually look at it. No one's going to, know that that's metal if we wanted to make it metal. No one's going to know that it's plastic letters that we made look like metal. No one's going to know that. But we all fell back to, well, we would know that on the committee,
exactly.
and there would also be others that would know that as well. And we like the idea of it really being authentic, because again, that design came to us. We didn't have to fabricate it. It's really, these are authentic pieces to your county, and we wanted to make sure that we kept that intact and authentic. So this shows a front view of that, which we added some color and kind of start to get a feel for it. Again, these letters would stand off the granite, so you get a slight shadow. And one of the things that's a big factor there is how the sun, rises and sets. This gets pounded by the afternoon sun there. So in the morning you'll get shadows. We did consider that. This is angled slightly, but in the morning you're going to get a shadow side to the sign. But for the most part, you're going to get a sun hitting this piece.
It just shows depth to our county, right?
Yeah. This shows a little bit of a further view, further back on the roadway, so you can get a sense of like the size and scale within that side of the hill. One of the things we are shooting for is to embed this in the hill a little bit to try to get as natural as we can. A couple of concepts were to actually, sort of somewhat bury the granite into it to make it look more natural. Some of those ideas are we're still entertaining. One of the factors to that is we did want to have a backside to the top slightly. This shows the view at night.
Oh, that's cool.
Where we wanted to have more natural lighting, not the letters we don't feel like they should be internally lit, which would then make them acrylic. We felt like it could be a combination of front and back lit, to get a nice effect during the night hours. And then this would also have a solar panel system, which would be behind that granite, hidden, that allows us to be kind of self-sufficient out there. So again, the main things we were trying to do is give a sense of preserving what is natural to Madera County in the sign. Keep a non-commercial look, make it look as natural as we possibly can, and give it a sense of monumentation, that kind of ties to the history of Madera County. So this is where we currently are. Our next steps are site survey. Any issues with the current design that may come up, we would solve those. But site survey, and then engineering drawings, and then getting construction bids. So that's where we are today.
Yeah, I love the design. I love the concept. It's very beautiful, well done. Committee, I'm just really pleased with it. It just sings Madera County. And on the elements of wood, as an architect, you probably remember that the Awani Hotel takes on the appearance of wood, but is largely reinforced concrete. And faux wood can be done with reinforced concrete. That entire bottom structure, which concerns me as well as a builder, the idea of maintenance and longevity, especially being up against the hillside there. That's very, very critical that has a retention component in it. So, it might be a little more expensive, I don't know, to do that. It definitely probably would be. But it would definitely have the longevity element in there, and I don't think it's that difficult to do. So that's a thought.
That'd be all right with concrete, I guess, but we did want to avoid anything that was way off the chart in the sense of like a commercial material. But yeah, it is an issue. We realize that, and also if it's going to be a retaining wall of any sort, again, that brings in a whole other set of
it does bring in a whole
of regulations,
calculations,
all kinds of stuff. So, just to note, also, we did want to design something that was we could take the design and scale it. Say, for instance, if we want to, in the future site, maybe on 99, we realize we're not going to have this hillside.
Right.
We get that. So we were also thinking in terms of, and that's why there's basically 3 elements. We can scale those. And so the design does include the thought that those get scalable to the size, environment, when we get into these smaller areas, where we don't have have the convenience of being on a hillside.
If we do end up going with the wood component on the trop and the skirting, as we would call it, the skirting along that, it also appears to be wood. You could do the retention behind that. You could retain behind that with concrete, and it wouldn't have to even be finished necessarily. It'd be just retention. And then that would eliminate a certain amount of maintenance component and longevity hindrance from that part of the element.
Two different things. You won't tell the difference.
It's higher. Bring up that drawing. You see the side view that I have up there now. It does work as a retaining wall, but it doesn't necessarily have to be designed that.
Yeah, it didn't have to be. That's what I'm saying. You could do the retention actually behind it. You could do a concrete retaining wall behind it on that portion, so that it would run up to the stone. Everything in front of that would be could be wood. Then it wouldn't actually have a structural component. It would just be there for a visual.
Right, basically a fascia at that point.
Right. Yeah.
Non-bearing, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Non-structural.
So, and those are things, the details that we're going to get into sort of engineering of this. A big issue, which we really literally haven't dug into, is the hillside. You know, what's there
geologically? What
is that going to do? You know, and how does that affect the design plan that we have? We've tried to make this somewhat, by going to three pieces, elements, somewhat portable, so that we can move and shift those according to the sort of landscape that we have to deal with.
Yeah, thank you. It's absolutely beautiful. Max just brought up something that looks like Madera County is sitting on the flume. Maybe we could put a 6 inches or 12-inch space between that, the letters and the flume. But, you know, either that cement, if we could make it out of that, or out of metal. I don't really want to do it out of wood either. I mean, I love the wood look, but I think there's so many places now that you can't even hardly tell it when you're that far off anyway. As long as it has some grainy stuff in the metal or in the cement, it would show, and that way it's there forever. So if we put wood there, every 10, 20, depending on what we put in, the railroad ties or what have you, they're going to still rot out. So,
well, if the powers that be are okay with that, we're okay with it.
Yeah.
We really wanted to stick to trying as well as we could to stick to natural.
Yeah. Well, it'll look natural because the way you finish it off.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and nobody's going to be up there knocking on, driving nails in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Brett? I just wanted to compliment your firm as well as the committee to put this together. I mean, this is, what I would have envisioned. I mean, it looks like Madera County when you look at it. And I actually kind of like where it sits on the flume because, Madera County came in on the flume. That's how this all started. Madera meaning wood, you have to have a wood element in there. You can't not. I know it's going to be tough on upkeep, but, through a mixture of, some of the elements that you thought, and then being able to have that fascia but there has to be some real wood in there since Madera County was built on. Madera means wood. You can't have it without it. So I just want to say this is just pops off of I can't wait to see it once it's up there. And I just want to compliment all of you and thank you for taking the time to the committee to come out and really give us something I think we can be proud of when people come in here.
Thank you.
You guys have worked so hard on this sign, but I have to state my position on this. I see that sign. I go through there all the time because I take Avenue 15 to Fresno. But I see the wood part of it. I know it's historic. Wood is Madera. I worked in the sawmill for 24 years, so I appreciate lumber. But if I go through there, and I don't know about a flume or whatever, I see the wood part there anchoring the sign and the stone there. So I don't appreciate the wood. I have to say that.
I worked in the woods a long time, too, and at the sawmill. But, I built that Norfolk Shopping Center sign in Norfolk, and I actually built it out of metal. Then I actually screwed the wood on it, 2x8s. So we could actually make it out of metal and screw the wood on it.
Faux wood
And-
on the top.
And if it rots off, big deal, you just re-screw it on again.
Exactly.
Especially all the fascia boards, it's easy to do.
Then you have your real wood element.
Yeah, and you have the real wood on the outside, so.
Yeah, that can actually be done
I mean,
so
this sign's
easily.
20 feet tall, I built.
We
so.
do that a lot with like faux beams.
Yeah.
You can actually put faux beams on, sometimes they're even made out of foam.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
But that would work.
Okay. Anybody from the public like to talk about this?
Thank you, committee.
I'd really like to thank the committee. I mean, outstanding job. I know how committees are, and geez, it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, no matter if we make it from wood or concrete or whatever, I like the idea of what Tom just said, just screw the wood in so we can replace it cheaply. But we'll bring it back to the board, and what's your pleasure? I think we just continue.
I'll make a motion, we approve this, get it going as fast as we can, and try to design it where we could just put regular metal beams and screw the wood on top of it.
Chairman, I don't think the recommended action is for a motion. I think it's just a presentation.
It's just information.
Still working on it.
Yeah, but
Okay.
he's still working on it, yeah.
Direction, keep on.
Yeah, that's what it
Norm
is. It's not a
was-
motion, it's
My
just a
motion
Norm was
keep it
talking to
moving.
me, so I missed the actual motion, but it caught
Okay.
my ear. Thank you.
Everybody?
I second them, yeah.
Okay. That's the direction.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Ron.
Send it back to the-
Okay, I was going to have Vaughn but we're running out of time, and I know a lot of the board has meetings at lunch. Dennis, could you come up real quick and do yours, and then let's get out of here. And sorry, Vaughn.
I appreciate that. This item is item K for Cook, with a contract
Item K,
with
could you read
Kingsview.
Just a minute. Get ahead of. Can we read item K, please?
Behavioral Health Services Department, consideration of entering into an agreement with Kingsview in an amount not to exceed $525,000 for Mental Health Services Act, Prevention and Early Intervention, Mental Health WRAP services for fiscal years 2015 to 2016 through 2018 to 2019.
Thank you. Sorry, Chairman. Thank you for having this item here that we can discuss it. This is an item to contract with Kingsview to provide services at 4 high schools, early intervention and prevention services for mental health. What they're going to do is conduct leadership training to the kids. They're going to have support groups for depression, self-esteem, anger management, healthy lifestyle choices at these high schools. We need to get it up and going quickly. We found out in October that a certain set of our funds have to be used for youth. We were not meeting the percentage numbers for youth. We looked at what we could do quickly. We came up with Kingsview. We had contracted with them. We went through a lengthy RFP process a couple years with them to provide some prevention services at the school. So we thought that they would be a good fit. We reached out to them, and we think it's going to be a great program there. It's going to be at 4 of the high schools, and we'll see how it goes from there. Thank you.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Bring it back to the board.
I move we approve item 6K.
Okay, we have a first and we have a second. Tom first. Brett second. Can we have a vote?
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dennis.
Okay, we will start the meeting back up at 1:30. We will put the other items in front of the closed session.
We also have the interviews at 1:30.
We have what?
Interviews.
Yeah, I know.
Need him.
Okay, let's get going again. I don't know where our CAO is, but coming back into session, let's go with 6H, please.
6H, County
6I.
County Administration Department, Human Resources Operations Division, Amendment to Classification Plan, Public Health Department. 1, discussion and consideration of approval to amend the classification plan by adding the classes of supervising public health nurse. 2, discussion and consideration of approval to set the salary for supervising public health nurse at range 335, $6,681 to $8,121 per month, $80,182 to $97,462 annually, $38.55 to $46.86 per hour. 3, discussion and consideration of approval to designate the supervising public health nurse class as overtime exempt pursuant to the Fair Labor Standard Acts. 4, discussion and consideration of approval to authorize the Human Resources Operations Division to amend the position allocation resolution within org number 06810 by adding 2 full-time employees and designating them to the class of supervising public health nurse.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the board. Adrienne Caleb, this afternoon reporting on behalf of administration. I want to start out by saying that we do have our public health director here to go over the details of the purpose of this request. But just generally speaking, this is a position that the director has long desired to add to her organization. And it is recommended, and the position is needed for the department's succession plan on the clinical side of her operation. And it is also a class that's commonly found in neighboring counties, and it will also enhance our recruiting efforts to attract qualified public health nurses. I will turn it over now to Vaughn if she has any words to add.
I actually don't, because you completed the details. So essentially, I am asking that your board consider creating this new classification. It's a much needed in terms of professional development for my public health nurses, and it is something that has been long overdue, I think, in my department.
I like it.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Bring it back to the board.
I move we approve item 6H, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and thank you for upgrading that kind of stuff.
Second.
You really need that.
Okay, we have a first by Tom and a second by Dave.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you.
6I.
6I, County Administration Department, Human Resources Operations Division, Amendment to Classification Plan, Public Health Department. 1, discussion and consideration of approval to amend the classification plan by adding the class of epidemiologist. Epidemiologist, thank you. Discussion and consideration of approval to set the salary for epidemiologist.
No epidemiologists. We don't want a bunch of demons running around.
That range 278, 5,028 to 6,112 per month, 60,341 to 73,345 annually, $29.01 to $35.26 per hour. 3, discussion and consideration to approve to designate the EP class as overtime exempt pursuant to the Fair Labor Standards Act. And 4, discussion and consideration of approval to authorize the Human Resources Operations Division to amend the position allocation resolution within org number 06810, Public Health, by adding 1 full-time employee and designating it to the class of EP.
I move that we approve the item, and then come back with maybe an exorcist that can come.
I'll second that.
Remove that last part from the.
Okay, hold on. Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay. Any questions from the public? Bring it back for a vote. Are you doing the first?
I have the first. Yeah, I've got the first.
Okay,
I
Dave,
second.
Dave?
I did.
No.
Okay.
Adrian, good job.
Tom, second.
Good.
Vote, please.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Here.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay. Okay, I want to apologize to the AMWORK people. We're going to do 6F right now. Thank you for coming back. Okay.
County Administration Department, Aramac Correctional Services Agreements. 1, consideration of entering into agreement with Aramac Correctional Services to construct and operate a Starbucks kiosk at the County Government Center. 2, consideration of entering into an amendment to agreement number 96/9AC 2013 with Aramac Correctional Services to extend the term by 5 additional years through July 1, 2022.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Eric Fleming, County Administration. I'm joined here at the podium by Peter Burt and Matthew Biankin. They're both with Aramark. There's been some ongoing discussion about ways to better utilize the main lobby of the Government Center. And a concept started to take shape last year sometime. And we developed a committee to really start looking seriously at a way to create a benefit for employees and more of a destination in the lobby. So one of our first contacts, because it had been suggested, was Starbucks. So we contacted their local business development manager, and he came by the site. He saw a lot of potential in the location and actually contemplated whether or not it would be a good site for Starbucks to own and operate. The one thing that this site did not have that would keep them from doing that was a drive-up window. So we kind of brainstormed, and we went through some other scenarios and some different versions of Starbucks franchises that are out there. And as we talked, we found out that Starbucks had an existing relationship with a long-term contractor of ours, and that's Aramark Correctional Services. And they provide our food service in the jail and in the juvenile hall. They've been an excellent contractor. They've actually helped us out with the jail kitchen. And just have been a really pleasure to work with. So we started talking with them about how this might work in terms of whether or not they would operate a Starbucks here. They seemed open to the idea. So we went about getting some bids on what it would take to purchase a prefabricated kiosk that would sell Starbucks drinks, and then also allow them to sell food products there. And they talked about their willingness to provide the expertise, staffing, and management to operate this kiosk. And as we talked more and looked at the traffic patterns, we came to the idea that about 30 hours minimum a week would be a good amount of hours to operate this sort of a kiosk. Then we had a challenge of, well, what do we do with that initial capital investment? Because as we looked at all the parts, the kiosk, the furnishings, and I'm going to have pictures of these things. Maybe we could do a split screen. The furnishings, and then an upgrade to the sound system so that we could hold events in the lobby, and it would create more of a destination. That price tag got us up right around $200,000. The county's not in a position to finance something like that. So we got creative. Peter and I met several times, and he made the offer that Aramark would finance the upfront capital cost and allow the county to pay it back through revenues that would be generated there at the kiosk over a 5-year period without interest. So it sounded very good. So we started working on an agreement on exactly what that would entail as far as operating, and then once it becomes profitable, profit sharing. And so we came up with I've done some projections on the fiscal impact side. And to give an idea, we don't, on the high side, I think we're looking at about 6,000 people coming in per week into this facility. Now, on the conservative side, which is the number we based our analysis off of, we used the $3,000 figure, or 3,000 people, 3,000 visits per week. And so knowing what it was going to cost about $769 a week for this operation to break even. So what that means in terms of people spending money
per day, you mean?
No, $769 per day. I'm sorry, did I say per week?
That's what I got.
So what that means, if we have the traffic that we think on the lower, more conservative end, if everybody coming in would spend on average of $5 per week, let me make sure I get this right. $5 per week, we would be at the break-even point. There's no guarantee on that. So what I want to reinforce is there is a level of risk in that we are making a guarantee to Aramark that we would cover their operating cost and then have to make that debt service payment at least for the first 5 years. Now, it'll be easier to become profitable after the first 5 years, after we've paid off the capital investment, but that's what we're looking at for starters. So Peter's probably got a lot more to say about this, but I did want to run through the slides. We've got a picture of kind of generally what the kiosk will look like. It's going to be a very nice, well-done kiosk, and it's going to fit nicely where the information desk is currently. We'll be removing that information desk and then getting the plumbing and electrical needed to basically just plug into the kiosk. In addition to the kiosk, there'll be some furnishings. There we go. Either end of the lobby will get new furnishings to make it more, like I had mentioned, more of a destination. So you may want to have a business meeting down there, or meet with people, or just a comfortable area to wait. And we would do that at either end of the lobby, and then so that gives you another vantage point of that. And that's kind of the overhead view of how the actual kiosk would fit where the information desk is now. So I think I've covered everything there. I don't think I touched on profit. When the site does become profitable, and I'm going to say when, not if, we're going to split the profits 80% to Aramark and 20% to the county. That's the proposal. And with that, if you have any questions, there is, along with the operating contract on the kiosk, we're proposing a 5-year extension to the food services agreement. It's due to expire soon. That just establishes the relationship for another 5 years.
For out to jail?
Yes.
Yeah, I had a bunch of questions. First, I didn't add it up right. I had that $3,750, but I see you're saying $5 a week instead of $5 a day. Because $5 a day is going to add up a lot more money. So, and did you guys do a survey of our staff to see how many goes to Starbucks every morning before they come to work and do that? Did we do that?
We haven't conducted a survey.
I don't drink that stuff, but I know some people do, and I see them carrying it in. So I was just wondering if they would come here and buy it instead of buying it and then bringing it here.
I think the chances are real good. If I just look around my office, probably a third, if not a half, of the people there walk in with Starbucks in the morning. So if everyone will purchase their Starbucks drinks.
And what's wrong with the furniture that we have already? I mean, it's new and it's.
It's not new. As a matter of fact, it has not held up well at all.
Oh,
We've had building maintenance come in on a number of occasions and tack the vinyl, and it's really a mess. Yeah.
I guess it's 10 years old now, isn't it?
It's old. Yeah. No, it's served its purpose. Huh. But we do need.
Shit, time flies, doesn't it? Yeah.
Brett?
I guess that's all I've got now.
So I've got a couple of questions. So our break even, is that just on food costs, or does that include the staffing of it? Does that include the electrical? Is there a rent that they pay us to be there, or is it just?
There is no rent. We would cover the electrical, and so I think I calculated out to $3,845 a week covers all of their operating costs and costs for goods sold, as well as covering the debt service payment.
Okay, so it's labor, cost of goods sold, and any other direct expenses that are not utilities of the building.
Okay, and have we determined how much the utilities would be? I mean, you're going to be running, and these pull a lot of electricity.
We got solar to pay for, and it'll be.
That's true. We get significant savings with our solar panels.
So we're going to have Sunti out there. Is that the? And then have we done a calculation of lost time of when employees have to go off site to go get as a way to recoup some of the cost for us too by keeping the employees here versus leaving and then coming back. I think that would be an interesting.
That's a very good point.
Well, that's what I've seen people come in late and they got their coffee cup, and probably they had to wait in line. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking if they come here and get it, they don't have to wait in line. Well, hopefully they can go right to work or go to work and come back down and get it.
they get here at 8 o'clock and stand in the line here and start
For
at
30
8:05.
minutes, huh?
But once they're here, they're on time, right?
Yeah.
I think Airmark has some
Work
good
production.
ideas, and I would imagine they'll probably allow some sort of pre-ordering where you place your order and then you come back and pick up your drink when it's ready. They're going to do some promotional.
Yeah, I was going to ask, because I know that Starbucks has like the app where you can put in your order on the phone. Is that going to be available here as well, or is this?
You know, Aramark's a $15 billion company, and we do, we're in correctional services, but we do a lot of these Starbucks facilities and other lines of business outside of corrections. But the point I want to make is we're not in business to lose money, so we'll pursue any opportunity that you'll allow us to market that kiosk out in the lobby to raise the revenue and increase the chances of it bringing money to you rather than costing you money.
David?
Yeah, I look at this in more ways than just one here. Number one, it's a benefit to our employees, first of all, and gives them an opportunity to have a place to come and just relax and take their break, or for a person to have a business meeting in the lobby. I think it also changes the complex structure between government and people. And I think when you walk in the lobby, you smell coffee, you hear music, it's going to have a psychological effect of relaxing people. It creates a marketing effect that is unlike any other I've ever probably thought about in terms of giving people a more homey feeling to the environment when they walk in this government center. You're going to be able to smell coffee and the things that are pleasant to your sensory perception that trigger good memories when you walk into this facility. You're not going to be all ticked off.
Well, if you don't like
because
it.
You're thinking about taxes and you're thinking about government oppression and all of that. So I think it's going to have a positive effect psychologically on the public. I think the public's going to enjoy it. I believe they will also participate in it. I believe the participation is going to extend beyond these walls into City Hall and into the court system. I believe it's going to be a destination type of place where people come in. I plan on having meetings myself there in the lobby as well. And,
By yourself?
Well,
By yourself.
myself with other
His supporters.
Eric, I think it's a good idea. We should try something different. But then, like Dave says, we draw people from City Hall, and then the jury candidates, all that, and then the smell of coffee, like he says. We don't care what this guy says. He doesn't like coffee, but he can stay out of there.
He likes hot tea, and we'll have hot tea there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, another thing is, what are the hours of, how long are daily hours? When do you open, when do you close?
In our agreement, we're
Open at
looking
9.
at least 30 hours a week during your normal business hours here. But again, we're in business to drive the revenue as high as we can get it.
Yeah.
So if allowed, we would, do some marketing and advertising in the other buildings surrounding this one, and open and stay open as late as you'd like us to.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea. It's going to be successful. You draw the people across the street, the insurance company. Hey, it's something different. Let's do it.
Yeah,
it's going to put us on the map.
the outsiders coming in. I mean, we're going to have a bunch of bums sitting out there all day long when it's raining outside, sit in our lounge and use our bathrooms.
Have you ever paid for a Starbucks coffee? Not going to get the bums.
Since I don't drink it, I guess you're right.
We will continue to have full-time security in the lobby.
We'll still have Zach's to say, hey, you've sat here your hour, get your ass out?
Yes, sir.
Eric, he's against the homeless people, I'm not. Especially if they're veterans. Right, Rick?
Who housed 7 veterans? Have you? I have. Max, have you?
Yeah. We got to take care of everybody, regardless of income.
Okay, looks like we're done. Question, the money that we make, where is it going to go back into?
A raise for us.
Besides Max's tip.
No.
Well, he's on a roll today. What'd you have, coffee for lunch?
Tea. Once we become profitable, not if we become profitable, The profits would go back into the general fund, and that would be discretionary funding, additional.
Gee, maybe we make so much money, we can put another sheriff department deputy on, huh?
Hey, okay. That'd be nice. That would be nice.
Okay, any questions from the public? Here we go.
Uh-oh.
Tracy,
You like coffee?
Tracy wants the macchiato, caramel macchiato.
Hi, Tracy Kennedy, County Treasurer, but I'm kind of have a few questions for logistics. So will it be open then during all the coffee breaks? Like it'll be open at morning at 10 and then again in the afternoon maybe after 3? Or that's too long? As much as needed. Okay, and then do we get keys to it in case we get thirsty in between? No.
So what time in the morning, like 7 a.m. or?
Oh.
When the building opens or prior to?
Well, that's 8. But I mean, we want to make sure. But we want people to, they come to, a lot of people come to work at 7. And I mean, I want it available. If they're going to do it, they need it then.
We will be as flexible as you need us.
Okay. That's important, though.
That's nice.
Especially like for Norm.
And then, and I know the furniture is kind of falling apart out here a little bit, but can we have some of it on the second floor in in our break room? Even though it's kind of falling apart, we'll take kind of fallen apart furniture versus like none. And that looks very nice. The furniture looks really nice. We get to keep that, right? Whether win, lose, or draw, we get to keep the furniture. So. Anyway, that was the only thing that I had was just kind of the timing. I don't drink it.
Maybe we can arrange the one that's stapled together to bring it up to the.
I know. It's got some wear and tear. Anyway, thank you.
Okay. Bring it back to the board. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. One more thing. I did want to let your board know that I did have a conversation with our chief of corrections ahead of time before we proposed an extension in the contract, just to make sure he was okay with that. He said absolutely. He could speak back here, but he said he's very happy with Aramark as well.
Well, he needs to know before he goes to work where he stops, right?
I thought you were going to say there's going to be a kiosk at the jail.
We're working on that right now. So
they are. They fix all of the coffee for them every day.
Manuel Perez, Director of the Corrections here at the jail. The only thing I want to mention is that we've had a really long relationship with Aramark, and the gentleman standing to my right, Peter. It's a good relationship. There will be some changes to, I just want to mention, to the contract, because there is going to be an extension. So I got opportunity to talk to them prior to the meeting. So there is going to be some changes on
you
our
guys
end.
work it out?
But definitely looking out benefit of the county. So I just want to mention that.
Thanks, Manuel.
Thank you.
Well,
I'll move
real quick.
Go ahead.
Hey, Manuel? On the kitchen facilities,
Manuel?
on the new kitchen facilities we're working on right now, is that
Yes.
going to be part of the new contract with that too?
Absolutely. We're getting ready to move into the building next month.
That's what I said. I knew it was getting close, so that all.
Yeah, we're just working through the logistics right now. Feeding for a week from Monday, we'll be getting ready to open up. We'll be doing an open house. I'll come back and do an invitation to everybody.
Good.
Well, one thing we would mention, the previous, because we're in the contract right now, is Aramark has always been good on doing a real estate investment with us. And we've been very successful in using that investment to get us where we're at in phase 2 of the kitchen. Because if that investment wasn't there, it'd be coming out of general fund to replace old equipment. Especially going into the kitchen. So a lot of equipment, existing equipment that has been purchased and replaced over the years through the investment is now going into the new kitchen. And so that's part of what, going into a new contract extension, we're still looking at those kind of commitments.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Back to the board.
I'll move that we approve.
Second.
Have a first by David and a second by Brett. Have a vote.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez? Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Veronelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you.
David really, this kind of was his brainchild. And
Yep.
I think he should deserve some recognition.
Rogers Coffee Shop.
He doesn't drink coffee, though.
I wanted to do it for the employees, and I thought that they would really get a lot out of this.
Yep.
And it's not just about profit, although you want to break even at least. It's about relationships and about people and about how we present this facility and how people enjoy the facility. So I think it's
a good thing for everybody. Thank
Thanks.
you for mentioning that.
Good
That's
idea.
great for it.
Thank you. Regina, do we need to go into closed session and then take up the other two later? Is everybody here, Adrian? Okay, well, then we'll go to 6D, please.
Community and Economic Development Department, Planning Division, presentation, discussion, and direction regarding the status of the temporary impact fee reduction. 1, receive presentation on the status of the temporary impact fee reduction. 2, provide direction to staff to extend the temporary fee reduction or allow it to lapse on February 24, 2016, in accordance with the Board of Supervisors' adoption on January 24, 2015.
Chairman, thank you. Members of the board, Becky and I will tag team this and quickly go through this presentation. If we could bring up the PowerPoint. As you recall, going back to 2010, we had a 2/3 reduction in application fees and impact fees. In January 2015, we did a semi-permanent adjustment because Supervisor Rodriguez reminded us that nothing's permanent. But we did an adjustment down on almost all of our entitlement fees, and then we continued with the 1 year, and that's about to expire. So, Becky, if you could go to the next slide. What you see in your permit activity here, the green or the red is this year. So permit activity in Planning Division has been pretty good. It was 13-14 was a pretty good year, but in general, the activity has been good. The Planning Division permit revenue, and this is the one we wanted to point out, the permit revenue has been up significantly, partly because we went away from this 2/3 reduction, and even though our permit activity isn't quite robust, our revenues have been good. A lot of these are also because of the very large projects coming in, so the Riverstones of the world and the McCaffreys of the world who are writing those of application fees are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's been also very good for our revenue for the year. Again, these are the Planning Division permits. You can see how they're going year over year, just how we're doing that. Building Division, this is another key factor. Kevin Fries and I talk about this regularly. The red line is this year, and our building permit activity is better than last year, which was better than the year before, which was better than the year before. So, in general, permit activity in the Building Division is up, one of our economic indicators in the county. Building Division permit revenue. Again, the permit revenue is up, partially to do with activity, partially to do with some of the ways the bigger projects that come in. Harry's had some fairly large projects come into his division, and actually Harry and I even sit down and go, well, we could charge $175 or $140, and I look at Harry and say, well, can we get the job? Are we going to lose money at $140 because we have some sort of valuation? And we usually go with the lower fee as long as we're covering our costs. So we don't always go to the highest fee when we have some discretion or leeways. Harry and I sit down and go over that and make sure we're doing it correctly. Again, the types of building permits. What you'll see is we don't have a big spike. Supervisor Wheeler and I will have to have this conversation as usual. We don't see a big spike in commercial activity, which was the goal of this program, because it primarily is geared towards commercial and industrial. You see your single-family dwelling activity. That's another sort of indicator of how many homes you're building per year. And, keeping it above 100, which hasn't been since 2009. Our long-term average is about 400 units a year in the long-term average. Environmental health, well permit activity, again, this has to do with, a lot to do with agriculture. It's a little bit down from last year, but it's comparable. The septic permit activity is down somewhat from last year, but not significant. We went to the larger diameter approach on the well permit fees. I mean, the well permit fees, until we adjusted it, were, I think, a flat fee of somewhere around $250, $300, and so we adjusted that fee, and as we committed, we would do conservation programs with that, and we have. Judy Gutierrez in planning has put forth all kinds of good information at our front counter, and some of the presentations you've seen here on the ideas. So, again, septic permit revenue is up for the year. This is something you always want to know, is domestic wells versus ag wells. So there's your ratio. And this is year-to-date, obviously. Again, the additional revenue from larger diameter wells, that was part of our permit adjustment we did back in 2014 when Supervisor Wheeler was chairman, and that really has stabilized our revenue. Good. I mean, these aren't significant fees, but the increment is being put to good work for sure. Again, this is fire prevention. Year-over-year activity is fairly stable. They had a big spike in one year, but in general, they're pretty consistent. Follows building permit trends. Again, their revenue, is somewhat comparable year-over-year. They don't generate a lot of revenue out of this division. It's a fairly small division, but they also do enough to pay the bills. Development impact fees year-over-year. Again, the red is this year. So even though the impact fees for commercial have been reduced or eliminated, on the residential and the other projects, we're still picking up a fair amount of impact fees. And this is the road impact fees. I'm sorry, development impact fees have to do with sheriff, library, and facilities, which is overseen by the CAO's office and general services. Parks, yes, sir. And the road impact fees are overseen by Public Works. It's a special fee, and of course, that has been reduced. And the main thing, if the board decides to continue this, I would like to suggest we continue it in the same way, in the sense that we have hundreds of houses about to be built in Rio Mesa, and I wouldn't leave that money on the table because that's a significant amount of revenue we need. So that's our presentation. We have the options there in front of you, and I hope I was quick enough. Thank you.
Brett? Just a quick question on the large diameter. I know it shot up, and you said it stabilized. But then we were putting that money to good use.
Yes.
Are we creating new things to use for that money to justify it, or was it really just under what it needed to be before?
Well, it was woefully low was one thing, right? It was ridiculously low. And we have a tradition of more acreage, the more size, the more this, that we tier these things. So that was part of the issue. But yes, what we did was we have assigned a planner and other folks to work on handouts about drought-tolerant landscaping, about, the rain barrel programs that you've seen and some of these things here. We've been using that additional revenue to provide staffing support to the public. Because as we said, all options need to be there with respect to water, right? Conservation, which is a fairly small part of it, but the bigger part is working with the ag industry. So in one sense, it was woefully too low. It was a flat fee for any size well, and it was a very low fee. And tiering it up hasn't been a big hardship to the public, I can tell you right now. And in fact, a lot of the folks who build those larger wells, they didn't have a major issue with it at the time. They understood it, a lot of the stakeholders. So we are putting that money to good use with programs. And but I do agree with your first point. It was out of whack for sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't just we figured something to do with it because we raised it.
No, we didn't do it the old Prop 13 way. We want to raise money to find something to do. No, sir, that wasn't the way we did it.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, that was the whole idea, to have that money there for any of the water projects or any of the water studies we want to do. Hopefully build it up, can use it for that. So, and if we get a person to work on it, can use it for that too.
Yes, sir.
The second thing is that I think it's really important that we keep this reduction in fees right now. This year's actually slacked down compared to last year, and hopefully it keeps at least level this 2016. So I don't want to put a big bump in their way so that stops some of this stuff. So it hadn't hurt us that much, I don't think. I think overall we've done really good, and I don't want to upset the apple cart.
Agree. CL?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I did this last time around, but I just want to make sure your board is aware that our capital improvement funds that accumulate from these development impact fees continue to be depleted. We aren't accumulating very much. For example, in the fire category, we went from a balance of $25,900 a year ago, and we're at $31,106. So these are low balances. They're not accumulating because we've waived the fees. Just be aware that our capital sources are depleted and aren't being accumulated.
If you just add a third of that, that's not that much money either.
Yeah, that's right.
Compared to our regular budget.
I agree with Supervisor Wheeler. Don't break a good flow right now. I think we're looking at probably a better year. Why jeopardize business and do like the city of Madera and raise impact fees? I think Chowchilla is doing it right, and they're starting to get business. And it looks like they're going to end up with some pretty good size business going to Chowchilla because of their impact fees. And if you see Chowchilla, they got a big sign out front, open for business. Well, you know why? Because the impact fees are zero.
Right.
So I think we keep it for one more year and then look at it and move forward.
I agree with that, and I just want to add on to one thing. I know we've met with a lot of site selectors for these big businesses, and this is something that we run out and talk to them. I mean, it's part of our bullet list, and we take away just one arrow from our quiver if we raise them back up, and for what, you know, we need, I think, like Supervisor Wheeler and Farinelli said, you know, stay the course. Keep every arrow in our quiver.
Well, yeah, it took me 3 years to get that installed, so I'm not ready to let it go yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely, I mean, you go for the volume, and we're going to have volume once we start 41. Okay, any other questions? Public?
Come on, Tracy.
Again, not so public, but anyway, Tracy Kennedy, Madera County Treasurer, Tax Collector. I see the spike on the horizon, and I see the building and how that's going to go, and I understand that, of course. I know the CAO mentioned the impact fees and how they're depleted for capital improvements and things like that. In my own little budget, one of the things that we're always wrestling with administration is fees. Should I raise fees? Is there new fees? Can I come up with fees? Can I set higher fees? And really, no. I don't think that if we want to be business friendly, I think we should be taxpayer friendly. I think that we should be friendly all the way around. But I think that we do collect in my department sufficient fees that should be attributed to my department, in which we've had a little arm wrestling going on, not with Eric. But anyway, so I just want to kind of mention it out there, you know. What the departments are tasked with is, you know, maintaining a certain level or increasing fees. And by decreasing these fees, I don't know, are you putting a little more pressure maybe on another department that could or could not increase fees? So that's just my little just side note. I think I even spoke to Supervisor Farinelli a little bit about that. We have a couple, 3 weeks before the budgets are in, and another month before that they're reviewed. But so now you just have a little preview of coming attractions from the Treasurer Tax Collector. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. Okay, bring it back to the board.
With these fees, are we keeping the lights on, Norm? Is this putting undue?
Let me explain the breakdown. Application fees is what pays for staff and go to the general fund to keep the lights on. What the CAO is referring to, these impact fees go to capital improvement projects, parks, new sheriff station, new types of things, and also the road side of it goes directly to roads. So what is, and the CAO can certainly, I'd invite to chime in, what the situation is that we are deferring some of our long-term capital projects, essentially is the way I would frame it. We're deferring long-term capital projects by doing this for another year is what we would be doing. And not to be too argumentative, but I haven't seen a big spike in commercial activity because of it, but Supervisor Wheeler and I always have that conversation every year. So, CAO, I'm sorry.
I agree. Said it well. Thank you.
I make a motion we approve it with the same reduction, 1/3 for another year.
Second.
First and a second. Call for the vote.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Farinelli?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
6J, real quick. Who's 6J?
County Administration Department Professional Support Services. Discussion and consideration to accept proposal from VRPA Technologies and direct County Council to prepare an agreement in an amount not to exceed $185,202 for professional support services related to the proposed public safety tax measure. 2, discussion and direction to staff to return to the board on February 23, 2016 with the VRPA agreement and associated budget adjustments to finance the project.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Eric Fleming, County Administrator. At your last board meeting, your board unanimously directed myself and staff to go out and look for professional services to assist in the preparation of things that are needed for a dedicated public safety tax measure for the November 2016 ballot. During one of our ad hoc committee meetings, it was suggested that we get a proposal from VRPA Technologies, who's a local firm that's had success in ballot measures. Our Measure T here in Madera County and Measure C, which is also a transportation tax measure in Fresno County. What you have today here is a proposal from VRPA Technologies. We believe that they're uniquely qualified to do the work that we need done on this tax measure. What they're going to do, real quickly, is provide financial research, community outreach, opinion research, and develop an expenditure plan. Georgina Vivian, who is the president of VRPA Technologies, is here today, and she has a presentation for you, and then both of us would be available for questions.
Good afternoon. My name is Georgina Vivian with VRPA Technologies. First, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come before you this afternoon to discuss this potential support services contract. Okay, I tapped it. Oh. Oh, there we go. So, one of the first things that we will be working with the CAO's office and the ad hoc committee on will be to identify the purpose of the sales tax increase. And of course, one of the major purposes of the process is to enhance the general awareness among Madera County residents so that they're aware of what the tax will do, how long it will be in effect, what the amount of the tax will be, etc. We also want to inform community stakeholders and organizations and voters regarding the unfunded needs. We need to educate the public on why we're actually going after this tax and what it will do and how it will address those needs. We also need to assess the voter support. One of the first tasks that we'll be doing is to do an outreach poll or a polling exercise to determine the amount of support for such a sales tax, and in the process of doing that, also find out how they would like to be informed and better educated about the tax, how long they would like this tax, what they're willing to actually agree to, whether it's 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it might be. So we learn quite a bit about the public and the voters and what they're in favor of or not in favor of as we go out with that first opinion poll. And then we'll prepare the draft ballot language. We'll go through working with the CAO's office as well as the ad hoc committee and identify exactly what will be accomplished with the tax, how it will be allocated to both the Sheriff's Department as well as to the fire services. And it's a very detailed process, but it's according to law, we have to be very specific about how the funds will be allocated over whatever time frame we'll be allocating them to. And then, as noted, we'll complete the expenditure plan as well as the ordinance and move forward with the ballot initiative. So just to give you some highlights on each of the tasks, there are really 5 major tasks associated with the scope. The first is to do the outreach strategy. So immediately upon, as we move forward, we will conduct stakeholder interviews, get a sense of who it is that we need to talk to, how they feel about this tax, give them any information that they need to educate their constituents or the people that they talk to on a daily basis. We would also, of course, facilitate and help the CAO facilitate the ad hoc committee, so we'll be at every meeting and work with them very closely in this process. Make a number of presentations to stakeholder groups, as we did with Measure T. We actually went out to 20, 30, 40 different groups, and there were a number of us that did that. I was at almost all of them, and we provided a lot of educational material and presentations to these groups, and probably hit almost at least a third of the county voters at some of those meetings during that time frame. And then, of course, a speakers bureau, so that when I'm not able to go out or the CAO is not able to go out or anyone on the ad hoc committee, that there are others that can actually go out and make these presentations whenever they need to be made. The second task is opinion research strategy. So as I mentioned, this is really the first critical task in this process. It will give us all an idea of how well the public feels about a new tax for the purpose. And it'll also, again, give us an idea of how long they're willing to pay that tax, what we have to do in terms of getting the word out to them, how they like to be educated, and then what sort of issues there might be with such a sales tax initiative, why they feel strongly about it or why they feel strongly the other way. And then, of course, PowerPoint presentations of the result and analysis. Task 3, the financial advisor services. It's really important for us to have an understanding of how much money we expect to come in for the duration of whenever the tax will be. So that financial advisor needs to look at all of the retail and other tax information from the county, determine exactly what amount of funding you can expect and what the public can expect from the sales tax initiative. And that's primarily what this financial advisor will do. The financial advisor, and I'll get into a little bit of detail on each one of the sub-consultants that we've chosen for this effort, but they're very well versed in developing the financial strategies for these various sales tax measures, and they've done that all over the state. In terms of the public education strategy, to educate the public, we have to get out to the public. We have to look at every angle so that the public is understanding of what the sales tax measure is all about. And for that purpose, we look at almost every type of media, including newspaper, direct mail, social media, outdoor advertising, radio, and then, of course, all the other educational materials that need to be handed out at various events or at various presentations. So there's quite a bit of effort just in that particular task alone. And then finally, as I mentioned before, the expenditure plan development. So we need to document this process. We need to be fully, need to fully disclose exactly what this tax will cover, what duration it will cover, how much we expect from the tax, and that has to all be done in the ballot language as well. We need to identify other funding sources that may augment the services that will be provided as a result of the measure. Public safety needs, costs, and issues will need to be identified, and, of course, the funding commitments, and then, of course, preparation of the expenditure plan itself. This is just a schedule. It's a very tight schedule because we have to, as we learned the last time that we met, we have to have the ballot language to your staff sometime in June, toward the end of June, middle of June. So we don't have a lot of time to actually hit the road and get going here. We have to really get out there and get this thing taken care of quickly. I have informed our sub-consultants that this is going to be a quick turnaround, and they're more than willing to get in and get it done. The project team, of course, we have the ad hoc committee itself, the Madera County CAO. VRPA Technologies will be the prime consultant. We'll take care of project management, the outreach services, as well as plan development. EMC Research, they are from the Bay Area. They will do the opinion poll. They're the same research company that did the opinion poll for the Madera Measure T program. Montague DeRose is the financial advisor. They are the financial advisor to the Fresno County Transportation Authority, as well as a number of other transportation authorities and sales tax authorities across the state. And then Lux Creative, which is a local marketing firm. We're not going to say the word marketing here, but they would provide all of the educational materials for us to distribute and would take care of all of the radio requests and all the other types of outreach that we would do using various types of media. And with that, I'm willing to open it, or we're willing to take any questions you might have
Brett?
regarding the measure.
Thank you very much for this presentation. I mean, you answered a lot of the questions just in terms of the suite of what you do. But I have something I just want to gather away. So if, first and foremost, if we're going to assign this for $185,000, if our initial poll that goes out says that there's like 20% support it, I mean, there's no point in continuing down this path. Is there ways that we can get out of this without paying $185,000 and knowing we're not going to get to the level we need?
Definitely. We would never submit an invoice if we haven't done the work. So if the.
This is like a maximum
This is
amount.
the
and
maximum.
we'll invoice as we go.
And they would come in on a monthly basis. If we see that the support for the measure is way down at 20%, then I'm sure the ad hoc committee would have a discussion about that and decide whether or not to move forward.
And then in this 185,000, that includes money that we pay to subs, correct?
Yes, it does.
And so that buys the polling, that pays for the print of the materials,
Yes.
the mailing, the radio. Right. So
Exactly.
Just wanted to make sure that we're just not sending 185,000 to VERPA, and then all of a sudden, we get consent calendar items that say, oh, by the way, we're going to also send this much to Lux and this much for, so, all right, I appreciate that's a very well done thing. Looks like we'll probably pass the tax initiative if it's as tight as your.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you, Regina. She's done 2 projects like this since I've been elected, and I tell you, they are professional, and we got them passed. I mean, there's only 17 counties that's passed the road fees, and we're one of them. And I give it to her credit because I went to all those meetings, especially up there. I didn't come down here much because I was too busy campaigning, but we have to educate the people, and we educated them. I mean, we had 1 million different type questions. We'll have 1 million type different questions on this, and I already are getting them. So without the professional service to do this, we'll never get it passed. And they are the best, as far as I'm concerned. I've seen them do it, and we can't wait around. We got to get this going right now. We got to start educating, and I've already committed my one chief of staff that I have a town hall almost every month. I'm going to have another one each month in all those communities to educate them on this, and she'll be coming to it to give this presentation, and that's how we get the people to do it. And it worked last 2 times. I was actually on the first committee to do it, and we got it back about 30 years ago.
Right. It's been a while.
And that's how we got it done. So I can't wait to get it going. We got so many supporters like Bill Ritchie out here. I mean, he's campaigning more than probably I am right now already. So it's just, thank you.
You know, question, Eric. I thought when we first came out with this, the original was 0.5 cents, and now it's up to 8.25 cents. What happened there?
I don't believe that's been set in stone.
We haven't got no number yet.
Okay.
That's going to be done.
The Fresno Bee, I gave you that article, says it's
8. No, it's not.
And I thought we're talking about.
It's not been set yet. We don't even know yet. We're working on that every time we have a meeting. So.
Okay. And then every time when we go out for this, are we going to be looking at the populous areas first, so we can even get a faster count?
Yes, we'll be covering every area of the county. So we'll be going on the valley floor. We'll completely blanket the valley floor, and as well as the foothills. So
you've been doing this for years and years, and just a question. This year here coming up, there's going to be more ballot measures on the November ballot than there ever has been, and a lot of them are tax. Usually, if you look at the when you do have ballot measures like that, it doesn't matter what it is, they all fail because everybody, just too many of them, and so how would I mean, you have to get out there, you have to educate the people, but how do you beat that? With that mindset, with the state sitting there just basically hammering the heck out of you.
We really
I know
have
it's a county tax, and I know all that, but as soon as they see that
TAX.
Yep.
We have to educate them on what the benefits of the tax will be. That's going to be first and foremost.
Right.
So we really need to have a clear game plan, how the money is going to be allocated and what we're going to receive from that allocation, and how that's going to improve public safety in this county. So we're going to be relying quite a bit on the CAO's office as well as the public safety service providers to come along with us and help us educate the public so that they are aware of how this is going to benefit them directly versus indirectly.
The other interesting thing that just came up, just if you watch Bloomberg or anything like that, these insurance companies were basically ripped off
Right.
the people.
Yeah.
Are they going to get their money back? that, they're actually admitting that from $800 to $3,000, a little bit steep, and basically coming out. I hope the federal government does something about that. But so now that those are coming down, the insurance rates are coming down pretty fast. There's another, thing that you got to look at too. So I'm just bringing this stuff up that I look at. I think you're going to have a hard time with Fairmead, Madera Acres, Parksdale, and those areas. And but I look forward to seeing what you do.
Thank you.
CAO?
Oh, yes, Mr. Chairman. Tom, Supervisor Wheeler already touched on it. I just wanted to thank Bill Ritchie for taking time out to be here again today. He's been very helpful.
Tom?
Yeah. What insurance rates were you saying coming down?
The insurance rates, what they did, and she shook her head yes, so she understands what I'm saying. What happened is the insurance companies were hammered by one of the commissions, because what they did is they went from, like I said, 800 to 3,000, and they did it too much. So now they're dropping the prices back down, not to 800, that's for sure, but that's what insurance companies do. Just like Covered California, they go and say, okay, you're from 800 to now $1,500 a month. And so, well, that was too high, so we're going to bring it back down because we're nice guys.
Because we haven't, I haven't heard nobody of our insurance guys up there. We've been talking to them.
It's all over the news, so have your guys pay attention to it. So.
Right.
Well, one of the bigger problems, other than just the cost of premiums, is flat-out uninsurability up in
right.
some of our areas.
And Chowchilla. Chowchilla's the same way.
Yeah.
Because, see, they're 10 because they haven't got the ISO rating for 10 because they do not have the...
Yeah, there are some people that would get in line to pay $5,000 for insurance.
Yeah, I know. Okay. I had one more question. Now you made me lose it because you said that about the insurance.
It's there. Anything from the public? We'll bring it back to the board.
I make a motion we approve item 6J 1 and 2 and let the work begin.
I'd like to add the wording from what Brett said, basically, so we know that if you go so far, just add it into the promotion. Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
You second that? I second that, yes.
Okay.
With that clause.
With that clause,
is that stipulation? Okay to the motion maker? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, baby. Okay, County Council, anything from closed session?
There are no items to report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, where are we at? Well, we did enough jumping around today, didn't we? I think that was
It's
good.
okay, boss. We got her down.
Anything from supervisor report?
I just got a town hall meeting Thursday night at YOP, 6 o'clock at the clubhouse. And I just wanted to say, I should have done it when everybody's here, public comment. There was 3 different articles about our Madera County and the Fresno Bee, about Riverstone and stuff. I mean, big articles. I mean, it's so neat. I just can't tell you how neat this is. I mean, it's going to help our counties so friggin' much. It ain't funny. And then the other article was the one they had in for the D. Young up there at, by Frank Bigelow's. And that's to help us too. And I thought Mark did a pretty decent job on our public tax
Yeah, I thought you did a
article.
good job. That's how come I handed that out. I thought that was
So,
good job. Okay, the only thing that I have a report is basically because there was more supervisors. We did have the Scouts Civics Day, and we need to report that because we did have 3 supervisors together. And besides that, it's been a very busy week. I was very happy. Just to let you guys know, I mean, we had a great panel at the sex trafficking meeting that we had at Valley West Christian Church. Thanks to Roger Leach for letting us use that. We had a series of 3, and every single series ended up with about 125, 130 people. So
wow.
Thank you guys. I know you guys supported that in other ways, and I appreciate that. And our county is just shining. DSS, Dan the Man Morris, amazing person, and then we're putting all that together. But anyway, just wanted to report that.
while you're talking about that lady, you know, the people who took off the street, Barbara and Doug. Barbara and I graduated in high school. I used to take her out when I was a junior in high school. And she called me and wanted me to go to that, and I couldn't go that particular night. And then all these articles come out in the paper about it. And I Facebooked her, actually, and I said, why didn't you tell me he was part of this? I said, you got your picture, her picture's even in the paper. Yeah. And I saved them all for her, and I'm sending them to her, so it
was really good.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, but it's all under the great umbrella of our wonderful gangs again, so especially the Mexican Mafia. Anybody else? Any reports?
Chairman?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to report that I had the opportunity to be a judge at the speech contest along with you at the academic decathlon on Saturday.
That was fun.
And also because my supervisor from District 2 is absent, Chowchilla did win the academic decathlon, the first time in 22 years, unseating Yosemite.
Yeah, it was really a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Oh, I just have one thing finished up, and we're hiring Melissa De Silva as my new chief of staff. We'll be starting March 7th. Big shoes to fill.
Yep.
Big
Yeah.
shoes.
Well, you got a good teacher, though. That's what helps.
That's for sure. She's going to be a great addition. Mm-hmm. Okay, any legislation reports?
I have one item.
What's your name, please?
I'm Glenna Jarvis, District Chief of Staff for District 2 Supervisor David Rogers, and he asked me to bring this before the board today. It's a letter to the Bureau of Reclamation and the State Water Resources Control Board. Last year, these entities worked together to temporarily allow increased pumping from the Delta following storms in order to capture rainwater while maintaining the Delta ecosystem. A recent decision by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services to restrict water exports from the Delta is sending millions of gallons of water into the ocean every day. This decision will cripple our local economies by eliminating our ability to capture storm water. Our region has been hit hard by 4 years of drought. We welcome the recent storms and hope the rain continues, but the storms are of little use to our farmers if we can't increase pumping. Failing to capture this water has resulted in about 70,000 acres of fallowed farmland and more than 1,500 jobs lost. This letter would urge the Bureau and water control boards to focus on recovering from the damages caused by drought and allow water diversions in order to refill the state's reservoirs. And I ask your approval to have the chairman sign the letter.
Okay. You guys okay with that? Okay. Fine. Anything else? Anything else on the board?
Good meeting.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Great day. Thank you.